Hey everybody, Pete Gluzek, Bass University here, 2000 ICAST, here with my old friend, Kelly Jordan.
That's true. We are old friends, that's right. We've known each other for many, many moons.
That's right, we battled out on the tour for quite a while.
Probably 20 years, probably.
Probably
so.
97 is when I started.
There you go.
Is that when you started?
I started, yeah, right there, 95, 96.
A bunch of us got started at that time.
You know, 20 years.
Yep. I was rookie of the year.
And I'm only 23. Imagine that.
I was rookie of the year that year. Did you know that?
You're still rookie of the year. What are you talking about?
They didn't give awards out back then. It was so long ago. Well, hey, we're here at ICAST, and you're showing me something that I think is super cool. It's a brand new product. Never seen anything like it. Really excited about it. I think our guys at Bass U need to know this product because it's going to help them.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. This is really neat. My business partner and I have been working on this for many years. It's a great idea. It's something we all know that we need, but nobody has ever made this thing. It helps you string your rod, put your line on your rod quickly, easily, reliably. You don't need reading glasses if your eyes are getting old. And if it's dark, low light conditions, if you have any disabilities, we've had some people that have different disabilities that are saying this will be great for me, which just makes us feel great. We're like, that's awesome. But what it is the RTD, stands for Rod Threading Device. Attach your line. This is demonstration line, of course, bright so you can see it. But there's a little drop shot attachment on the back right here. That's how everybody knows how to use that. Stick it in there, pull it, it's attached to the unit. Then you get the device, put it on your rod, and it goes right up and does all your guys, all the way up. And there you go. Finish it off. You can come top to bottom. Come on down, and that's how we go. You can see it going through every guide just like that. Does a task quick and easy. If you're going fishing and it always happens to me, it's like the last thing I do is my rods, and you're like, oh man, it's 10 o'clock at night, I still got a string on my rods.
Yep.
Headache, get more sleep. If you're out on the water, you're gonna have more time to fish. That translates into more good times and hopefully more fish catches.
I think it's so innovative. I've never seen anything like it. And here's something else that's really cool about it, because this gets me. I get frustrated. You're out in the boat. You broke off, right? And you got to and you're threading. You're going up, and all of a sudden your line wraps around your reel, and you're stuck here. And you got to reach down and grab your reel, and then your line drops right out of the eyes. You got to start over again. Start over again. This is going to completely eliminate that too.
Now, if that happened to you, my phone's ringing. So, if that happened to you in this, go up, and you could drop it, and it's right here.
Just drop it. It's going to keep it right there.
Then you can grab it again.
Hit your bail, click your button, and keep going.
Now, if you yank it too hard, this could happen too. You could pop this bobbin out.
Okay.
And that's pretty cool because I can show you what this is. This is the actual kind of guts of the unit. This is the bobbin. That's what we attach the line to. This is about like 3.2 millimeters. It's not small enough to do a micro guide, but does everything almost micro up to 27 millimeter guides. Big guides like the first stripping guide on your spinning rod, they won't work on that, but everything else in the middle, it zips right through. And if you ever knock your bobbin out, you just put it right back in. Slides right back down the middle, and you are back in business.
All right,
ready to go again.
Now, anything that is in my hand stays in my hands for the rest of the show. But for those folks,
I'd love to give you one, but that's the only one I have.
For those folks at home, everybody's going to want this. When is it going to be available, and where can they get it?
Hope we have by this fall, October, what have you. And you can check us out at eruptfishing.com and eruptrtd on our Twitter, Instagram, and all our Facebook accounts too. You can check us out there. We're going to get them out as soon as we can, everybody. I hope you enjoy it. And we're working hard to get them out.
Awesome.
It's an awesome tool, everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. Here's the deal. This should have won Best in Show at ICAST this year. Should have won. But
thank you.
It's a pretty awesome little product.
Thank you very much.
But I'm looking forward to seeing you next week up at the Delaware River.
I'm going to be there, man, supporting the kids.
Did you catch any fish when you were at the Delaware River last time?
I think I caught one.
Yep. It can be tricky.
Or two, I think. But no. Yeah. It is a crazy fishery, but man, that town is just great people. So excited in what you and what Mike have done for giving back to the community and the kids is man, I'm honored to be invited to go to that and look forward to it. Hey, man, great cause.
Yeah.
It's all about the kids.
Yeah, check it out. It's going to be ikefoundation.org. We're going to be there fishing. We'll be posting. We'll be doing all kinds of cool stuff. And I won't have an RTD, but maybe next year I will.
Well, go to www.eruptfishing.com and you can learn all about it if you haven't seen it.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Hey, man,
you, brother.
good. Congratulations. Amazing product. I'll
Thank you.
I'll see you next week.
Right on, bud.
That was an amazing product, eruptfishing.com.
How did that not win Best of Show in Ike?
Man, the engineering, the ingenuity, the newness of that product.
Dude, I got to tell you, I've got to have one of those. I mean, when those are available in Tackle Warehouse, I'm going to be having one. There's no doubt.
Go to eruptfishing.com right now. Apparently, I think they're available now. I think they're trying to meet
I thought he
demand.
said October.
October. Yeah,
I heard
think he said
October.
October.
Okay, well maybe we can get on a waiting list.
I'll be having one of those. I promise you.
Anybody
That's
where?
cool.
Yeah, it's a really cool product. Super cool. Great to see him just yesterday on the Delaware River, and great to see you back up here on the Delaware River yesterday.
Good to be here.
We have the great Kevin Short with us, square bill phenom, Bassmaster Elite winner, Bassmaster. How many tournaments now? 5 tournaments.
5 bass events.
That's some rarefied air with 5 tournament wins. Well, it is. It's true. It's great to have you here, buddy.
Well, thanks. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Great to have you live in studio. We were all at the Ike Foundation tournament yesterday, which was awesome.
It was an awesome event. And that's the first time I've been able to fit. I mean, I've obviously had an invite every year that you guys have done it, but it's the first year that, the schedule worked out right. And I got to tell you, every year that I can be here for that, I promise. I promised Mike this morning, man, every year that I can make it, I'm going to be here. That's a cool event.
It's fun.
It really is.
It's a great cause, gets kids fishing, gets products into their hands. You get to fish with the pros, but in all the guys that you typically would fish against. But but it's in a way that it's just not as competitive. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, and the number of kids that came out for the kids event while we were out fishing. I mean, Carrie was telling me about all of the games that they had for the kids to play and all the prizes that they had for the kids to win. They gave them all a flambeau tackle box, and then they had all these games that they could go around and play and win. Tackle and stuff to put in the tackle box, rods and reels. I mean, it was really, really amazing. I mean, it was.
My little boy Jake, he's 8 years old, and of course he gets his flambeau tackle box and he's filling it up. And Lucky Tackle Box was on site giving everybody a Lucky Tackle Box. So he was, he got his.
I bet he was in heaven, wasn't he?
Oh man, he's so much fun. He's like everything's got to come out of the pack immediately. Sure. Like those lures, they got to come out of the pack.
They go in the box.
Right in the box.
Yes.
Each hook goes in a certain little spot in the box. I mean, you talk about getting kids excited about fishing.
That's cool. Hey, that's what it's all about.
It is, and that's what we were all there. We had a great dinner on Friday night, and these guys were here too. BTC, Eric the intern.
Indeed.
What a great event.
It was.
It was awesome. I mean, every year it's better.
And we had like some superstars there.
Yes,
I mean, like some sure enough. I mean, we had a bunch of Bass Pro superstars there, but we had like some sure enough
we had a couple
superstars. We had a couple of football players from the Eagles.
Best defensive player in the world right now, and Fletcher Cox.
Yep,
Super Bowl champ.
They fished. He fished Saturday.
Yep,
sure did.
With Ish,
that was great.
I know they brought a limit in, and Trent Cole. We've had Trent. Actually, we've had Trent in this room before.
Yep. Right.
And Trent's an awesome dude.
He was like our first guest in the Ike Live show.
Like
was he really?
Guest.
Was it the third guest?
One of the first
like
ones. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. I think our very first guest was Randy Howell right after he won the Classic.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
In the studio.
No, on Skype.
Okay,
but
on Skype.
I think our first in studio was Trent, and we were not ready for that.
No, as a matter of fact, you can't find footage of that because we weren't ready for that.
Oh, okay.
I had no idea. I still don't know what I'm doing, but I really had no idea. About halfway through the show, something came unplugged, and we thought we fixed it. Went back, did another hour and a half of show that nobody ever saw.
Lost in space.
Lost in space. It was just for our own enjoyment.
I know. It was a great piece of. It was great to be talking with Trent here on the studio.
Yeah. But as far as superstars that were there, for me, the guys that got me excited was the UFC fighters. Jim Miller was there, Adam Milstead, and Gregor Gillespie.
Yes.
And man, they're a lot of fun to hang with.
Yeah.
For me, that's what I spend most of my time, sports wise, watching. And it was awesome. Dude. Them guys are great.
Yeah,
they're real.
We ran into Gregor out there, and man, you could tell that he was having the time of his life. Like
That's
seriously, you know, like there was no mistaking it. That dude was having an absolute blast out there.
Yeah, he was out of his mind, excited about the event. So
you know, it's
they
really
all were.
cool.
They all
That's
were.
really cool to see a guy from a totally different. I mean, you know, he's in a totally different world
Yeah.
from the bass fishing world.
Yeah.
And he comes over here and spends a couple of days with us, you know, in our little world.
Yeah.
And he's like just like stoked about it.
Yeah,
I mean, he is
fascinating.
like super
Oh, yeah.
excited about
He
it.
would
So that's great.
he would probably trade to be in our little world.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if-
just
he said if he
totally
was-
passionate about
I
bass
wouldn't
fishing.
trade with him, though, man. There's no
No.
way. There's no
He said he was
way.
as good at fishing as he is at fighting. That's where he would be. But
Yeah, that's cool.
But he promotes himself as the best fisherman in MMA. That's his thing. So
Nice.
he's pumped on it. Same with Adam and Jim. You know, Jim's an outdoorsman. He's a hunter
And a
very-
former winner of the Ike Foundation tournament.
indeed.
That's right.
He was back here to defend
Yeah.
his crown,
Yeah.
and he drew
That's
you.
cool.
And he drew me, and we failed
How'd
to
that
win.
work out?
And we not so well.
Not so well.
We,
Yeah, I
we managed to scrape 5 together out on the river. I was challenged by the tide, you know.
It was
And-
it was a horrible tide.
it was
I mean,
difficult.
for fishing the Delaware, man, it was like
Come on, Becky.
I'm not going to say it was the worst tide. I'm not going to say it was the worst tide,
Yeah.
but it was a really
you
bad
can say,
tide.
man. I
Man,
can't
it was just a
imagine it
bad
being
tide.
any worse.
You know,
I
Well,
mean,
Actually, when the regionals came here 5-6 years ago,
that's right. They had a crummy tide.
Oh, they had a crummy tide. They had a storm.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Those way up
tropical
over the
storm.
banks. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Guys
man.
were fishing over roads in the backs of
Yeah.
creeks and
Oh wow!
stuff.
So you had like a storm and like a full moon, like
The river was trashed, top to bottom.
There was no
trashed.
tide, Kevin. It was just running.
Oh,
It was
wow.
running out the
Everywhere.
bank. Trees, muddy water.
Oh, wow.
Just it's like
That's
nothing
tough.
I ever seen. I went out to just video it, just to look
Right,
at it.
right.
You know? It was that unusual. Guys, like I said, I knew some guys that were, you know, it was all you could do to find clear water. Anybody
Right.
that found any clear water at all could, and you
Catch
could
a
catch
couple.
a couple,
Yeah.
and you would rise right to the top. Wow.
Yeah.
Guys were throwing over roads that are typically, even at high tide, are 4 feet out of the water.
Yeah, you can't even get close.
And
to
they
it,
they
yeah.
were nosing their boats right up to it, throwing over top,
That's
and
crazy.
finding some clear water back there. But
Wow.
yeah, so we had a challenging tide, and
Mm-hmm.
it was weird because you know you're a river guy and you've been around tides fishing. I know you're inland where you live, but you
Right.
fished enough
Still
tides.
fishing enough tide, yeah.
But that high tide scenario where you're around the fish,
Right.
they're hitting your baits.
Yep.
But they're just not
Dude,
committing
they
to
will not
anything.
eat. That is so crazy.
It is weird on
That
a
is so
jig.
cra- I mean, I had several of them yesterday. That I mean, the creek that we were in was actually clear enough where you could see them,
Oh,
and I mean, you could like
Wow.
see them like tucked up underneath a limb or something on a
Right.
tree. And I mean, you could like hop your jig up over it, and they would. I mean, you could see them turn on it or maybe nip at it.
oh.
That's it, man. That's all they would do.
No deal.
No, yeah, they wouldn't go after it at all.
that's weird,
It's
man.
so crazy.
It's
But
it's like their bodies are conditioned to only feed during the low
yeah,
tide.
it's a, well, I guess so.
Yeah.
I don't know. The title thing is always. I mean, I've been.
I think it's kind of indicative of the fish that were caught, because there is a fair amount of 3-pound fish in that river.
Sure.
There weren't weighed in yesterday.
No, exactly.
They
Yeah.
were all 7 and 8 pound bags, save for a couple
Yep.
of guys, and I think they caught them late. You know, I heard
possible.
Matt Hearn
Yep.
come in, running people off the road, catching a couple good ones late.
I still want to protest that. Damn. I mean, it's so offensive to just going down the bank and they jack a 3.5 pounder right in front.
He
Man.
got Valdez too.
Did he really?
Yeah, he got Valdez, then he got you,
Man.
and then he went to the scales, weighed his fish, and left.
And they took home a big bag of prizes.
Nice.
Man.
And walked right on out the door.
Yeah. Yeah. I fished with Jim Miller, and Jim was like, man, intense. Like he was in his mind, the only thing he cared about, he wanted to be the best MMA on the water that day.
Yeah.
You know, he wanted to
Wow.
beat those guys.
Yeah.
How'd
Yeah.
you do against?
I don't know who they fished with.
Well, Gillespie, Gregor fished with
Spore.
Gerald Spore.
Gerald
Yeah.
Spore,
Yeah.
and Adam Milstead fished with the Stash, Lintner.
Okay. I have no idea what they weighed. We had a limit.
Spore weighed 2 because we caught up with him on the water. I think Gerald had Lintner had a limit, But,
If anybody that had a limit probably beat us. We had the smallest limit weighed in, I'm sure.
oh yeah, you didn't even hit 7 pounds.
Yeah, we were 6 1/4, 6 1/2. We had a nice fish that would have probably put us closer to 7 pounds, but couldn't make them touch. But we had this little rat that was 12 1/2 inches that probably weighed 10 ounces.
Like that, like thin as that paper.
Thin as this paper.
Yeah,
And
wow.
but so we just opted to weigh in that one. On that tournament, we should have risked it. We should have said, let's. They're not looking that close.
If you're not going to win, I mean, come on.
Well, we just didn't. We really never really had a shot at big fish, but that high tide, it just challenges you. You guys that fish the tide know it. And it certainly challenged us that because last year we had hours of outgoing tide, then a low tide.
Yeah.
14 pounds.
Great.
14 pounds won last year.
That's like the best scenario.
Best scenario.
Yeah. Or if you get like a super long day and you get and like you go out on a high tide, like when it's just peaking, when you take off when it's just peaking,
right.
And then you get it to go all the way bottom out and then come back up, and you get a couple of hours of it coming back up on certain places. That can be really good.
That's what we had. That's what we had.
That's perfect.
We're
can't ask for anything better.
We got to throw Becky Iconelli under the bus
No
for
doubt.
Well, now I'm going to have to take up for Becky because there are so many. There are so many variables. Not only for for her to schedule Ike around, but all the other pros that she's trying to get.
It's really bad.
She had no choice.
And BTC.
That's right.
And Eric the intern. You got to get everybody. So
right. See,
your days are limited.
But
and the tide is like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I like what you're saying. It's not Becky's fault. It's Bass's fault.
Right.
It's Bass's
fault for scheduling where they know there's going to be a crummy tide on the Delaware.
The week
bass.
before.
I know.
That damn bass, man. They don't care about anybody.
Always coming down on the anglers.
Always kicking us to the curb.
Selfish.
Well, hey, man, it's great to have all you guys here, and we'll
bass.
probably talk a little bit more about the Delaware as we go on. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and we're live on bashu.tv. If you guys haven't subscribed yet, come on, join us. Right now it's 10 days free. You can be part of the show, ask questions to me and Kevin. We're going to be talking square bills, BTC, Eric. It's wide open. We want to hear from you. We're going to be talking about all that kind of great stuff today, so bring it in. We're also going to be talking about the upcoming Chesapeake Bay Elite Tournament that's going to be happening this week. Yep. And Kevin's got a lot of experience down there. So does everybody in this room. So we're we can field questions about that. So come on, it's TryBU. Use the code TryBU. 10 days free at bassuniversity.tv. Come on and check it out. We're going to be giving away prizes for questions. We got some trivia questions. We're going to be giving away some Rapala square bills. We're going to be giving away some a tackle pack of Riot baits.
Yep. Yes, for the Facebook giveaway, the like and share for that Riot Baits tackle packs.
$50.
It's about $50 value.
$50 worth of stuff. What do you got to do? You got to like and share our Facebook feed.
The live feed. Yep.
The live feed from Facebook, and we're going to be hooking a winner up. We're going to be picking a winner randomly. Somebody's going to get that prize. So we want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions. Come on and participate in the show.
Right. And for the people on Facebook and YouTube, take it a step further. Come over to the website so you can be a part of the show. Because, like you said, we've got some Rapala baits to give away tonight.
Yep.
And Kevin's giving away a bass cat every half hour. So
that's right.
But you've got to be watching on the website.
Yeah, it's key stuff. You got to be, and we're taking our IMs. All of our IMs come from the website. That's where we're going to be taking all the questions for the show. So if you want to participate in the show, you got to go ahead and become a Bass University TV subscriber. So come on over and do it. Come on over and join the party. We're going to be talking about square bills tonight, which is a big topic. It's a powerful weapon that has been used to win millions and millions of dollars out on the tournament trail to catch a bunch of fish.
And how many Bassmasters Classics?
Hey, let's kick it off right there.
You wanted to start there?
There we go.
All right. We're going to start with the trivia question. What's the prizes for the trivia question? Want to give away these square bills right here?
Yes.
We got a set. We got a set of DT Fat Rapala square bills. You guys may have seen me use these on Facebook Live out on the Chesapeake recently. Jack, a nice one. Going to be giving away those.
Those four?
Those four for the who correctly answers this question. How many
Bassmaster Classics have been won using a square bill. Not only, not just only a square bill, it could be just in part, but there's been a lot of classics won with them. Who can guess how many have been won? You're going to win these Rapala DT Fats. Have you ever used a square bill in the classic? I imagine you may have.
Man, let me think about that. That all of the classics all the classics that I've fished have been like early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly don't think I ever.
Really?
Yeah, because it's more of a. I've caught them while they were actually on the beds.
Mm-hmm.
And I've actually caught them before they got on the beds, but not when the water was like 45 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, most of the classics that I fished were, were cold water.
Classics.
Yeah, really cold water. So it just didn't work out real well.
And that really changes. You got to have a major warm front come through for that to be effective that time of year.
You really do. And
January,
and
February.
typically the pre-spawn fish that I've caught have been around stumps, lay downs, and it's been, like you say, it's been after that first warm, that first warm surge, or maybe a warm rain, and they kind of jump up there, and a lot of times like the females will be like rubbing on the stumps,
Mm-hmm.
or kind of rubbing on the lay downs and stuff before they actually get on the bed,
Right.
or around grass.
Gotcha.
Now,
Yep.
I've caught some giant bags on square bill pre-spawn fish that were relating to grass, grass edges.
Sure.
I mean,
Well,
that is like an unbelievable. If you can find that scenario, man, that can be an unbelievable bite.
It's when the bait disappears in their
Oh
mouth.
yeah, one of them jumps and you see nothing but line. Because they're just absolutely eating it.
Committing.
It's crazy.
You're committing to it.
Yeah,
But see now, the poor square bill is going to get a bad rap because of the wintertime classics, right? It's probably not going to be used that much.
Not as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it depends. If they would have one far enough south,
Mm-hmm.
like New Orleans, when
Right.
Kevin won down there on the little Strike King square bill. I mean, that was far enough south that those fish were actually setting up, getting ready to spawn around those stumps.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, that was like the perfect storm for square billing right there, pre-spawn.
Right.
Yep.
But
And spawn.
that's what's going to have to happen. But
Yeah.
prior to that, it was always the
It's-
summertime classic.
Yeah, and that's like, man, that's magic.
You're
I mean,
right.
that's like money right there.
Mhm.
That's the summertime, early fall, even sometimes into the winter months.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's like money in the bank right there, man.
Yeah.
It really is.
Well, the one that sticks in my mind, I don't know about you guys, but I can still see BTC or BTC. TO. I'm just wanting to say letters.
Yeah.
But TO.
We look a lot alike.
I knew it.
Oh,
when he jacked those fish, all
Yep.
square billing on. I don't
Wiley.
even remember which lake it
It
was.
was Lake Wiley.
Lake Wiley.
Yeah, I think so.
And
2003, is that right?
That's
03,
it
04,
sounds.
somewhere.
I thought
Well,
it
03
was-
is when Mike won.
No, it was
That's
04.
04.
It was right after
04.
Mike.
Yep,
Okay.
yep,
I
yep.
thought it was the Mississippi.
No, it was
Oh,
Wiley.
okay.
Lake Wiley.
And it just time running out, jacking giants
Yep.
on the
For-
square bill
yeah,
to
for
win the
that lake.
classic.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, that was probably in my mind's eye, the biggest square bill win. But it's been so many,
Yeah.
so many. So whoever can guess how many.
And
Chime
Pete has the magical answer in his head. If anyone wants to debate it, too bad. We have a number. We're going with it.
Yes.
So,
Well, and courtesy of Ken Duke at
there you
Fishing
go.
Tackle Retailer.
Oh wow,
Ken is an encyclopedia.
Yes, he is.
Can-
He has
can I
like
give you that
got
number?
all the statistics.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, then it's not debatable.
Well,
No,
it's not debatable.
Well, I agree. It is not debatable, but
No.
square bill is a loose term, or we use it loosely because there were some, shallow running crankbaits that were in the square bill category, but they weren't exactly like the square bills that we call square bill
Right.
today.
Right.
But we're calling them square bills for the purposes of
Yeah.
this.
Right.
But speaking of which, who better to answer this question, Kevin, than you? What is a square bill?
Well, to me, I'll show you one. To me, a square bill has. In fact, I'll show you a couple of them, and these to me are square bills. Okay, and it's come on, man, let go. All right, let's try this one. All right, these are two square bills. One of them's plastic, one of them's wood. But anything, where we? Can we get a close up on this?
How you want to do that, Brian?
Work with me here, BTC. Come on. Where you at?
You can see right up there. There you go.
All right. To me, anything where the front edge of the bill is square, like these. I mean, this is a little plastic bait, and then this is a little balsa bait. That's the whole key to a square bill, because when this little dude is running across the bottom, or when it comes up to a log, what it does is, I mean, if it's on the bottom, it's going to go across the bottom like this, back and forth. Okay, if it comes up to a log and hits the edge of that log, what happens is it's going to hit the log, and if it's designed and weighted right, it's going to hit that log, and it's actually going to flip up like this and keep the hooks away from the cover. Mm-hmm. If the hooks are in the right, and there's a lot of people look at a bait like this, and they think, oh, well, that's just the same as that bait and that bait and that bait, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it all depends on how far the bill extends out, what angle the bill is at, where the pull point's at on the bill, where this front hook is located, if it's far enough back. I mean, there's a whole lot of variables.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what, man, it's hard to explain all the different variables in a crankbait that make one really, really good and another one basically suck. Okay. Because there's a lot of them that just, I mean, they look good.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they got great paint jobs, but they just don't catch fish.
Right.
And it's not about the paint job or, the eyes being the same on them or anything like that. Dude, it is all about the action.
Right.
And how they run through the water.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, I mean, these are square bills. Now there's other baits.
And just to comment on what you just said, so many guys get caught up in color, get caught up in and I shouldn't say the wrong thing, but the thing that's down on the priority list.
Yes.
As far as making a bait work.
Yes.
Right? Color's important. There's
Yes.
times when a different color will get a better reaction out of a fish.
Right.
But there is nothing more important than the thump that bait is delivering.
That's the deal.
The depth or the way it's hitting the habitat
to
trigger the strikes.
Now, I mean, a little bait, I mean, this is like the kind of the medium-sized Big O.
The Big O.
Yeah, and this
Look
is a
at,
bait.
You have an entire collection.
Oh, dude, this is
I
a
thought
bait.
These baits were retired.
This is a bait that I throw a lot, but it's
You still throw the Big O?
It's well, yeah, the smaller one.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
Not the tiny one, but kind
Right.
of the medium size.
Yep.
But see, it's got a little bit of a rounded bill,
Yep.
but it's still, I mean, that's a square bill.
It's a square.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And this is one of, I mean, for a small bait, man, this is like gold right
Yep.
here.
Mhm.
I mean, it really is. It's easy to throw. It runs, 3 or 4 foot. It's got the right action. It comes through cover, fairly well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got to kind of finesse it, but I mean, it has caught like bazillions of bass.
You like that
It
better
really
than the little
has.
Norman?
Man, I there's both of them in this box.
Right.
Okay, I mean, I throw them. The only knock I've got against the Norman Baby N
Yep.
is it's a little bit lighter
Okay.
and it's a little bit harder to throw.
Yeah.
That's it. But I mean, it runs great.
Yeah.
I throw the deep baby in a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I got
Still
a bunch
throw
of
it?
those.
You
Still throw it. Never quit, brother.
right on.
Yeah, no.
That's awesome.
That's like, and these baits right here, I mean, just so you know, I mean, these are like, man, several years ago, when I started fishing MLF, of course, in those tournaments, you don't know where you're going, what you're going to be fishing. You have no idea. So you got to be prepared for everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I sat down and I made up like this huge tackle bag, like this big rolling tackle bag. And I put like everything in it that I could think of that I wanted to, to fish anywhere across the country. Okay. And these are boxes that I've actually been carrying around in my MLF bag for the last couple of years. So I mean, these are like baits that like confidence baits that I know if I run into a situation where I need a balsa square bill, these will get it done. If I'm going to have to fish rock, some rock, just grind it in the hard clay and stuff, and I want a plastic bait, plastic square bill, or like the deep baby N, or the little Big O, man, I've got those because I know I catch fish on these baits.
Those are 25-year-old baits. Baby Normans?
Yeah, actually, a couple of these are probably. There's a couple of them in here that probably are 20 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a bait that when you get it hung up, oh, you go get it back.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I try to lose very, very few of those, man, because you can't replace them.
Yeah. Now they looked original. Oh well, you held up a Big O, but the Normans actually changed. So you stick with the originals had the same color plastic lip, and then they went to a clear plastic lip, and I felt like they kind of weren't the same in the baby end.
Years and years ago, they used believe I'm telling you right, they used a butyrite plastic,
Okay.
which was white.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So they had
yeah.
to paint it's kind of that bone kind of white.
Yeah.
I know you've seen like really old Big O's. Somewhere along the way they changed to I believe they changed to, and I may have that backwards.
Right.
They changed to an ABS plastic, which is a clear, which is actually a little bit lighter. It's not as dense, not as heavy.
Yeah.
But I've caught a lot of fish off of both.
Yeah.
And I've still got some of the old bone ones that I throw quite a bit, but I've caught just as many fish off of off the new ones. Yeah. So I don't discount either one of them, man. They both work.
Norman's built a Big N. Do you remember that? Do you have those?
Shh. Hush. we don't, that is the bait we do not speak of. No. That is the bait we do not speak of.
That is a tricky little one, and
hey, I'm going to tell you what, pre-spawn,
mm-hmm.
dude, I can't tell you how many bags over 20 I've caught on one of those pre-spawn. Because when that bite is on,
it's guaranteed check.
You don't catch babies.
It's top dollar thing. And I found that bite on the Ouachita River.
Yeah.
In one of the Bassmaster when they used to have championships for the Opens.
Yeah.
And I top 10 there.
Nice.
Caught them all on that Big N.
Yep.
It was flooded.
Yep.
I was back up in that bayou. You know the one I'm talking about with the one everybody. It's the community bayou.
I can't think of what they call it, but
you'll say it, and that I'll know it when you say it. But anyway, I was cranking flooded. I was in a place called the Hayfields, and
it's flooded grass.
Flooded grass.
Were you winding it real slow across the top of it?
I was on the edge.
Yeah.
Because it was just starting to drop a little bit, and they were moving on the outside of that hay.
Right.
And if you could find one of them cedar trees on the edge, I mean, every one of them cedar trees, and they were the right kind.
Yeah.
You'd get the bite, and you're fishing for the biggest fish in the tournament.
Yes.
But that Big N is about that long.
It's big.
It has the widest wobble of anything.
It's got a rattle in it.
It's got
knocks.
that thunking knocker. Yeah.
It's got like two big rattles in it.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, it's got two big, ball bearings in it. So it's just like tonk, 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 tonk. Both.
Are they still making it?
Man, I don't think. I think since Pradco bought them, they probably quit making them. I mean, when
it wasn't a big seller because
it wasn't. It was never a big seller.
Not an everyday tool.
Now the little N.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they sold. When Bill Norman was alive, the little N was like. I mean, they sold like millions and millions of those, and the deep little N. I mean, it was crazy popular. And I mean, it's still one of the. In my opinion, I mean, the little N is one of the best, 8, 10, 11 foot crankbaits,
right,
ever built because of the action.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
right.
Just because it's the right size, it's the right shape, and it's got the right action. It's hard to throw. because it's a light bait and it doesn't have, you know, like the weight transfer. And that was one of the things that I always wanted them to do, was figure out a way to put the weight. Pradco, if you're listening, I'm just telling you, if you take the deep little end and put the weight transfer in it, dude, that would be the crankbait.
You know, I'm naive on this. When did Norman's was purchased by Pradco?
Oh yeah, probably 2-3 years ago.
Wow, that slipped right on.
Yeah, and they've done. I mean, they've done okay with them. I mean, they haven't. You know, they're still making. They're not making all. I don't think they're making all of the models that they had, but they're still making the most popular ones. And I mean, the ones that I've seen on the pegs. I mean, the paint jobs look good. So, I mean, I can't. I think they're probably doing a good job with it.
Well, good deal. Well, you talked about something I think is real important. Ed, are you looking at me like you got some IM questions?
We got a few things. First of all,
at you.
we have a winner for our Bassmaster Classic trivia question.
We do?
Really?
There was a lot of close guesses, but Alex Best finally got it. There were 9 Bassmaster Classics.
Can you name them?
According to
I have the notes here.
Come on, Pete.
So, let me. I gotta
tell us what Ken Duke said.
I got to put on my reading glasses once again, courtesy of Ken Duke. From Fishing Tackle Retail.
Dude, he knows like all the stats.
I mean,
if you need that hasn't even happened
if
yet.
you need a Bassmaster stat, I'm just telling you, Ken Duke is the man.
Yep.
He's the man.
The first classic.
Oh yeah, I knew that one.
Well, that was one on a square bill. Was Don Butler, 1972, with a Big O.
Wow.
The original version,
bigger one.
One size up from what you just showed us. The next year, Tommy Martin with a Bagley Balsa.
No, wait, you skipped one.
I did?
Yep.
Oh, Ray
Breckenridge.
Breckenridge.
Yeah, Arkansas boy.
Wow. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Look
one.
at that. 72, 73, 74. Tommy Martin with a Balsa.
Yep.
A Bagley Balsa B.
Yep.
Skipped a year, Rick Clunn with a Bagley Honey B.
I knew that one.
They were all pistol grips with monofilament.
Yeah, they were.
How did they catch anything?
How did they catch anything?
I don't know. But Rick Clunn, now the RC1 and the RC3 are coffin bill, kind of.
Yeah, see, I wouldn't classify that one.
You know,
see, I missed that one.
All right, well, we and Ken threw him in there, and I agree with him. We're going to give Rick Clunn the 90.
Hey, if Ken says it about stats, it's gospel.
Ken Cook in
I knew that one.
91.
Yep.
That was on the Chesapeake.
Upper Chesapeake Bay. Sure enough. Yep.
I didn't know. He did it.
Yep, he caught him on that, and he caught him on the spinnerbait both.
No, I remember the spinnerbait.
That was the last
hard
day.
Spinnerbait.
That was the last. Yeah, the last day he found one little patch of grass.
Yeah.
That he caught him in. The other 2 days he caught him on crankbait.
Wow. Yep. We talked about this one, 2004, Takahiro. He knew it.
He did know.
I did know that one. Yeah, I knew that one.
And then it took a big break. Look at that.
Yeah.
So, 6-7 years, and then you mentioned this one.
Yeah, I knew that one.
Kevin won with a 1.5.
Yep.
Bait. Then and that was the Delta, right? The Mississippi Delta. Is
yes.
that where he won?
Yeah, it was New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Lake Catawachi.
And Ken says, say hello to Kevin for me. So.
Hey Ken, how you doing?
There you go. So that's all 9.
That's cool.
9 wins.
Outstanding.
Square bill. Who won? Who wins the prize?
Alec Best.
Alec Best.
Alec, good job, Alec.
Well done.
Yeah, no kidding.
4 Rapalas coming your way, Holmes.
Yeah,
no kidding.
We got another thing too. One of our viewers tonight, some dude named Mike Iconelli, I think it is. He sent me a text and he said, he appreciates how old school you guys are going talking about these crankbaits, but he brought up the Poe 200s. You want to know if you guys had any comments on those?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
The pose.
That's old school.
Yeah.
That's really old school.
I mean, I don't know that I've ever thrown the Pose 200.
What? I've seen one. I don't know that I've ever thrown one.
Really?
300, 400, yeah.
See, I'm in. Wasn't that the RC1 and the RC3? Weren't they Pose?
Yeah.
Crankbaits?
They were.
Yeah, they were.
And then there was a 200 in there. I guess Mike is saying that. Yeah, I don't know. You stumped me on that one, Mike. I've never thrown that one.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
But what it brings up a good point is, that was a cedar crankbait.
Yeah.
The Pose. We talk about the balsa crankbaits, the balsa bees. The Big O is plastic with rattles. Kevin, I'm going to throw this one to you. I mean, wood versus plastic, rattles versus no rattles. What's your strategy on when to throw which?
There's a time and a place for all of them. I mean, that's and there's I don't know that there's any hard, steadfast rules. Man, I've gone out, some days and started throwing, a wood one and wound up actually catching them on a little plastic one with a little bit of a rattle in it.
Mm-hmm.
What I do is I kind of, man, the dirtier the water, and not necessarily the more noise that I want it to make, but the more I want the bait to move. I mean, the bigger the vibration I want off the bait. Okay, the clearer the water, maybe the smaller the bait, the tighter the wiggle, and sometimes the more silent. You got to try them all. I don't ever go out that I don't have. I mean, this is a pretty big selection, all the way from like the deep tiny, all the way up to a big E3. So I mean, there's something in here that's going to be, that's going to help, it's going to mimic like the smallest bait up to big thread fins and even big gizzard chat.
Right.
So I don't ever go anywhere where I think I'm going to throw a crankbait shallow around some kind of cover that I'm not carrying these two boxes.
Cycling through the whole selection.
Oh, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try everything. I mean, I really will. Just to see, and especially, if I get a bite on one of them, or maybe I get a bite on a certain color, I'm gonna sit down and say, okay, I got a bite on this little Tennessee shad. Okay, do I need to go bigger? Do I need to go smaller? And the colors, I get a lot of questions. Well, what color is the best color? Holy crap, man! Well, it depends on. It really depends on the water clarity, and to me, basically there's two color schemes. For throwing a square bill, there's a shad color, okay, and then there's something that to me would imitate a bluegill, okay, or a little perch or something. So your chartreuses, your greens, your browns, and then your silvers, golds, blacks. Okay, to me that's the two things that you're trying to imitate either a shad or some type of a bluegill or a perch.
Right.
Okay, because most of the time, what I see living around, the laydowns, the stumps, that sort of thing, that's what's living there. So that's kind of what I'm trying to imitate.
Keeping simple color choices.
Keeping it real simple, man. I years ago, it's pretty interesting you talk about simple. Years ago, when I was catching them on one of the RC 2.5s, and I only had like one of that color that I was catching them on. Okay, so Clun was like camped, a couple of spots down in the same campground. So I walked down to him and asked him, hey, can I borrow a bait? 'Cause I mean, he's the one that designed the bait. I knew he'd have some of them, So he's like, sure, what do you need? And I said, well, I need a couple, I need one of these. In fact, it was one of these right here. It was a 2.5 in this copper perch. I said, man, I've only got one of them, and I'm afraid I'm going to get it, hung up and not be able to get it back. It's the last one I've got. So he's like, sure, I got, he said, I've got several of them. So he opens up his box, and he's got like a box, not much bigger than this, of 2.5s, and he had 3 different colors in it. He had this color. He had the black and white one, okay, and then he had like a chartreuse with a black back. Dude, that was the only 3 colors that he had, and this is a man that probably could get as many of them and he may have had like thousands of them at home.
Yeah,
but that was all he had. And I remember asking him, I said, is that all of them you got in the boat? He's like, yeah, that's all of them I got. I said, well, you got more like in the camper? He's like, no, this is all of them I got with me.
Wow.
And I'm like, wow, I was just blown away. Because here I've got,
and he's won a few tournaments.
And dude's won a few tournaments on a square bill, But that's all. And I'm like, he's like, these 3 colors, I can take them anywhere and catch fish on them. So yeah, I think we as anglers get kind of hung up on color sometimes. I know I do. I'm horrible, man.
Yeah,
I got to have like 3 or 4 of every color that they make. If it's a bait that I throw, I've got to have like 3 or 4 of every color. So.
Right. Well, I say we,
keeps the industry going.
Yeah, fishing with co-anglers, I try to keep it as simple as possible, but I have every color that's made for defense.
Sure.
Because that the guy that you're fishing with is going to have a pink crankbait that you don't have, and he's going to start jacking.
He's going to smoke, and he's going to have one.
Yeah. So you've got to have them.
Yeah.
You've got to have them, but keeping it simple is certainly a sound advice, I think, for everybody, especially somebody that's learning. Maybe you're not a crankbait guy, because I teach a lot of guys, and maybe they're good at flipping, pitching, worming, and they don't have confidence in cranking. So when you look at that crankbait shelf and see 50 million different color choices, and keeping it down to 3, taking Rick Clun's advice, yours, that's
any
good
to
place
me,
to start.
to me, any crankbait, regardless of the time of year, you're trying to imitate in most bodies of water.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to imitate a shad, a bluegill, or crawfish.
Right.
What else is it? What else do they eat?
They're the 3 big.
That's the 3 dominant things. So I mean, if you're crankbait, whether it's orange and red, or chartreuse with a blue back, or Tennessee shad, just throw it, man.
Just throw it.
That's the key.
The key is throwing.
The key
is putting it on there and throwing it, and
a lot.
And you have it tied on. I see, like, I don't know if this is true, but in my mind, when Kevin's out fishing a tournament, you got a square bill on the deck every day.
Not necessarily. It depends on where I'm at.
Yeah.
If I go up to if I go up to Thousand Islands, I ain't gonna have one tied up. No. But if I come to like the Delaware or go to the Potomac,
will travel 30 feet sometimes.
No, okay. But if I go like the Potomac or the Delaware, or man, if we're gonna go down like to like Norman or someplace like that, I'm gonna have one tied up.
Yeah. I just you're so connected with that technique, and it's burned in our memory banks. I remember watching you on Pickwick.
Yeah.
And I think I even fished that tournament. But it's that little oxbow or something off to the right, creek off to the right, and you were coming through and hitting those stumps. I remember this one, like you were flicking the bait off.
You got it hung up.
You got it hung up.
Yeah.
That's huge. Tell that story, because that's happened to me on occasion.
Dude, I've had that happen. The crazy thing is, I've had that happen like numerous times. And every time it happens, dude, it is a giant. It's not. I don't know why that is. The first time it ever happened to me, Carrie and I were actually fishing a couples tournament years and years ago down to Pine Bluff Harbor on the Arkansas River.
Right.
And it was like 10 minutes to the weigh in. Of course, we were only, maybe a mile from the ramp. It was 10 minutes. And man, there was like this perfect little hump that came up, had like a little brush top on it. And I'm throwing my little deep little end up there, running it through that brush, and I got it hung up. And I'm like, and I didn't want to go up. I had a few minutes to fish, and I was going to throw my worm in there next and see if I could get one. And then we were going to sit down and go to the ramp and weigh in. So, man, I'm popping. I'm loading up the rod and popping.
Bow and arrow,
doing the little bow and arrow, trying to get it
crankbait
free, and popping. And all of a sudden, I bow back on it, and I feel like a tonk. And I'm like, whoa, that was weird. So I pull really hard, man, and I pop it, and and then it like takes off. I mean, the line like takes off, and about that time, this 5-pounder comes up and like goes across the water like that, and I'm like, oh man, I got one. I mean, that was the first time it ever happened to me, and it like scared me. So I got him up there to the boat, and Carrie netted him, and it was like a, like a 5.5 or something. It was big, it was a big bass for the tournament. So we threw him in the box and, threw out a little one and headed for the ramp. There at Pickwick, man, that last day, I'd found this one little area of trees. I mean, all those little cypress trees. I'd found this one little area that, for whatever reason, I mean, the fish were really uptight against those trees, better than the others. And I didn't really. And what I've been doing is I've been starting like on the outside of the trees and kind of working my way in every day. Well, the last day, I mean, they had shortened the tournament because we had some bad weather coming in. So instead of starting on the outside and working my way in, dude, I just like idled all the way through the trees till like the juice. I mean, I went straight to it, and it was on. I mean, I started catching. I mean, it was like fast and furious. So I'm, you know, making little underhand casts with my little E1 around these cypress trees, and everyone's. I mean, you're going to get hung up. I mean, if you're throwing one of these, I don't care how well built it is, how good you are at throwing it, you're gonna get it. If you're putting it in the right place, you're gonna get hung up. So, got my bait hung up on this tree. So, I mean, I'm kind of easing up towards it, and I'm steady popping it. As I get up there closer to it, get right beside the tree, pop it one more time, and I see my line swimming off beside the boat, man. And I mean, it's just like right there. So I've got line and rod and reel all over the place. So I finally I can't even do anything with it because I'm extended out so far. So dude, I just start like hand lining the fish up, and you don't know how big it is, and about that time it comes up and it's like a 6. It's like a 6'3" right beside the boat, and I've got like the line in one hand and the rod in the other. It was and usually when that happens that close, it goes real badly.
Right.
I mean, it does not end well. But that time, dude, I was able to hand line him, get him up beside the boat, get him trapped up against the boat. You know, the Mike Ike trap him against the hull special, the side of the Bass Cat special, and get my hand on him and get him up in the boat, man. But it was like, I mean, that was awesome. Like, intense.
Heart attack.
Oh, it was. Yeah, that'll give you a heart attack.
Now, what do you think is happening in that scenario? Because I've had it happen. If you crankbait a lot, you've had a similar scenario like this, but I can't tell. Like, I felt like a couple times it was hung, and they actually ripped it off.
Pulled it off.
The cover.
I mean, they see it up there, I guess, bouncing back and forth like a, the only thing I could figure is like a little bluegill would like go up to a tree and peck on it, maybe get bugs off of it or something.
All right, that's a good thought.
And I mean, the fish just comes up and he's like, "I'll just get you right there."
Yeah.
I don't know what else. I don't know what else it could be.
I don't know either. But I've had it happen like that, and then I've had it where you pop it free, and then boom, they just jump right on it.
Yeah, when you feel it comes free, and then, you see the line jump.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Well, I had an experience on the Hudson River, and this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to me in this genre. And I hung on a pile. I'm cranking the walls on the creeks there, which we often do, and I got hung up on one of the pilings. And if the water's got about 5 feet of visibility, I'm hung at 3 or 4 feet deep.
Right.
But I don't want to go over to it. I'm trying to flick it off.
Right.
I got the boat, so I take the boat out away from the wall because I don't want to step on the fish that I'm fishing for. So I come to the other side trying to pop it off that way, and it's not coming. So I'm like, I gotta go. So I go all the way in to the wall, and I'm gonna pop it this way. And as I look down, there's a 4.5 pound smallmouth looking at my crankbait. Wow. And I'm flicking it. I'm like. And I popped it off, and the crankbait suspended there, and the smallmouth got closer to it. And now it's starting to separate itself from the smallmouth and come up. And I didn't know what to do, but I just somehow decided to sweep my rod to the right.
Right.
And it made that, as soon as that crankbait started to wiggle, boom, that smallmouth just wolfed
Smashed it. Yeah.
And I hit the smallmouth. It immediately jumped 3 feet out of the water, and I guided it into the boat.
Nice.
That was the extent of the fight. It was like a 1 second fight. But like you said, the flicking of that crankbait pulled that fish right up to it.
He came over to see what was going on.
He was interested, curious, and that was amazing. So when you get hung, I guess the lesson here is when you get hung up in the cover, it's not over yet.
No, it's not over.
You know, now you got any tips for our guy? Like, is there any tricks you use to get through the cover better? I mean, you're good, like you said, you're going to get hung up, but you use rod angle or rod's real speed. Is there anything you do to guide it through the cover?
One of the things that I always do is when we started using, when fluorocarbon came out, I started using fluorocarbon for my crankbaits because I'm using either a fiberglass or a fiberglass composite rod that's got kind of a dull. You don't have just a whole lot of sensitivity, and I don't want a lot of sensitivity, but I still want to be able to feel what the bait is doing. And I really, when I started using fluorocarbon, I really felt like that it gave me back a little bit of sensitivity that I kind of lost with a graphite or a composite rod, or I'm sorry, with a fiberglass or composite rod. And what I do is when I feel the bait coming up to, a log or brush pile, I will actually stop reeling and actually pull the bait a lot of times through or over the limb with my rod. Okay. So I'm not I'm not steady winding it. I'm actually using the rod to pull it up and over. And if I need to pull it over and pause to let it float up off of it just a little bit, I can do that, and then take off winding again. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times, man, when that bait comes up and over something, and if you give it just like a little bit of pause and let it float up, and then take off again, that's when you get smacked.
Right.
Yeah. When they're really on it, that's when they're either going to hit it before it actually gets to right before it gets to the cover, or just after it bounces over it. If you give it that little bit of a pause and then take off again, just like what you were talking about with the smallmouth.
Well, that's a great tip. And I see guys doing that a lot. A lot of guys, when they're using the reel to work the bait.
Right.
And you have so much more feel when you use the rod.
Yes.
And you can pause or slow it down, sweep the rod. That's a great little tip to help get those baits through the cover.
Yeah, if it's like a brush pile or like a whole bunch of limbs or something, it's real. It's to me, it's a lot easier to get the bait hung by steady winding. Whereas, if you can kind of feel when that line kind of starts coming up and over, and then you can just kind of like stop reeling, pull just a little bit, wind up slack, pull just and kind of work that bait up and over the cover. I can.
Yeah.
Okay. And Pete, to me, it's just a practice thing. It's something that I've gotten conditioned to. And a lot of people have commented, that I've fished with over the years, particularly, guys like Ken Duke, writers that are like curious about, why are you doing this the way you're doing it? They we'll be out, throwing crankbaits or whatever, and they're like, well, you're not really winding that bait. A lot of times you're pulling it, and it's like, yeah, then you're trying to explain to them, and it's like, well, that makes a lot, it makes a lot of sense.
Boy, that sure does. I do that with other baits.
You do. I guarantee you do it, and you don't even think about it.
Yeah, right.
You don't, because it's
until somebody asks you, "What are you doing?" and then then you have to stop and analyze. Oh, that's what
exactly. But it works. It keeps you from getting hung up.
Yep. And in the world of weightless Senkos or shaky heads or even jigs,
right?
I see a mistake a lot of guys make is they're working those baits with the reel as well, and working it with the. Yes. I actually tell some of my students to take your reel hand and put it in your pocket.
Yeah,
and feel that stump, feel that brush or that grass. And then you'll be able to feel those strikes.
And then reach up there and wind up the slack.
And wind up the slack and do it again.
That's good. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a key little tip. I've not heard somebody say that about crankbait fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So that's a neat little deal. That's a blow your hair back kind of moment here at Bass University. But and we got a lot of them. I'm sure there's a lot more to come. If you're watching us on Facebook, like it, share it. We're going to put you in a contest to win $50, wear $50 worth of riot baits. You can wear them too.
You can wear them if you want to.
Yeah. and so like it, share it, and if you want to ask questions to Kevin or me. I see you guys asking questions.
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
In order to get to the IM board, you got to come over and join us. Try BU. It's free for 10 days. Come and check it out. We've got Kevin is one of our instructors, along with the best of the best, teaching about things that they're really, really good at, and they've won a lot of tournaments with. So it's the best place to learn. It's going to raise your bass fishing IQ. Come on over to bassu.tv, subscribe, use the code TRYBU, 10 days free, and then you can interact with us Eric, you're not just saying hi. What do you got back there?
Yeah, right off the bat, I like this one. I think it's an interesting point. Big D wants to know, is there ever a scenario where you guys are using a snap for your square bills? Are you always direct tying?
That's
when to use a snap?
That's a great question, because there are snap guys and there are no snap guys.
By the way.
What's that?
That's a winning question.
That is
Agreed.
a
winning question?
Yes.
Yes.
He gets his pick of any one of Kevin's favorite crankbaits.
That's funny.
All right, that's not true.
That's not true.
You get something from Pete's box.
Just hammering him with that.
Are you in the snap family or the no snap family?
No, dude. On certain baits, and I apologize, I don't have one on this, but on smaller baits, okay, and particularly on flat-sided baits, okay, I will use a lot of times I will use like a really thin wire split ring or a snap. Okay?
Now, see that blows my. I'm interested to hear what you're
I mean,
saying.
you see
I
how
thought you were going to
thin-
say no snap on a little.
No,
bait.
no.
Yeah.
I think well, like this one. I mean, you can see how big that wire is on that split ring.
Yep.
Okay, and you see how small this one is. I mean, there's a reason this one has like a really small wire split ring on it, or like say a lot of times on this particular little bait. I mean, I will use a very small, like a 1.5 snap, because I feel like that single wire allows the bait to move a lot freer. It gives it a lot better action. Now, on a big bait,
will you remove the split ring?
yeah, I'll take split ring off.
Okay.
Yeah, and just use a snap. But like on a bigger bait, to me it doesn't make a lot of difference. Okay, but on a small bait or a bait that has a really tight wiggle, that's when, like a shad wrap,
Right.
dude, I will not throw a shad wrap. Like a number 5 or even a number 6, I will not throw a shad wrap without a snap on it.
You feel it gives it more action?
I feel like it gives it a lot more action.
Wow.
Yeah, and hey, call me crazy, but I really think it makes a difference. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it makes a difference on the fish, on catching fish.
I got you.
Now, like say a big bait, yeah, I don't think it makes any difference.
So on a big bait, do you purposefully not use a snap, or do
No.
you use a snap?
No, on a big bait, I'll just use a split ring. Now,
Okay.
I will be careful about the size of the split ring. I mean, I don't want one that's got like really thick wire, because I think the really thick wire kills some of the action. Even on a really big square bill like this E3. And I think if you had a really big heavy wire split ring on that, I mean, you can see that's still a pretty fine. I mean, it's a number 3 split ring, but it's a thinner wire split ring instead of a real heavy one. Okay,
Right.
I think that makes a difference in the action that the bait has. I really do.
And the split ring will give it more action than that wire, The
Now,
snap will give it more
and
action.
the smaller ones. On the bigger
Yeah.
ones, I don't know that it
Okay.
makes.
I
it
got
makes
you.
that much difference. I will tell you this. Another handy little tip: every split ring has that little gap,
Right.
between.
Where your line can get caught in there.
Yep. That's where your line needs to be.
Yep.
When you tie
Tie
your
it right
knot,
there.
cinch it down. You want your line to be where the two ends of the split ring are, that little gap between the two ends of the split ring.
Okay.
Because if you tie it anywhere else, as that bait's
Gets caught.
wiggling,
Yeah.
the split ring will actually rotate around and it'll get hung
I
up
gotcha.
on the line tie. So that's from David Wright told me that like 100 years ago, and David Wright has caught more fish on a crankbait that I mean you
He's
and
one
I.
of the North Carolina boys.
He's a North
right?
Carolina boy. He and Coble used to clean up down
Right.
there, man.
Yep.
I promise you, you and I have caught a lot of fish on a crankbait. I promise you, David Wright has caught like 10 times as many. I mean, that's his bread and butter. But he told me years ago, man, if you will tie your knot in the gap on the split ring, every time you throw your bait, man, it will always run just like it's supposed to.
Right.
Yeah.
Another great tip.
I'm thinking, dude, you know a whole lot more about throwing a crankbait than I do.
No, that's good advice,
So, there you go.
that's a great question on snaps. And
Yeah, that is a good question.
And I'll just
Yeah.
add my deal on snaps, and the reason why I throw a snap, and and I use it almost all the time, is because it allows me to change so fast.
That's a good reason.
And you know, because I don't know if they're going to be hitting a bluegill pattern. I don't know if they're going to want rattles today.
Right.
But like, especially, you know, during practices, when I'm trying to locate fish, locate patterns, you know, if you got to stop, get and retie every time, I might not do it.
Right.
Sometimes and just become more efficient. I'll take, if I'm on a square bill, I might have 5 square bills laid out in front of me. And I'll run through the habitat and change. And Snap just lets me do that a lot quicker. But that's a great question. You got anything else for us back there, Ian?
So Russell wants to know, when you're throwing a smaller square bill, say like a KVD 1.0 or something like that, what's your rod, reel, line setup for throwing those smaller square bills?
I'll throw that one right at you, Kev.
I'll tell you what, on the small, here's one of the little decoy snaps.
Okay.
Yep. On the smaller baits, man, the most important thing to me is having a soft enough, a light enough action rod to where you can actually, you know, even though it's a small bait, I mean, it still loads up the rod just a little bit, so that you can actually throw it. If you're trying to throw it on a really stiff rod, man, you're not. I mean, it's going to be really hard to throw it. And I've always been, you know, either a fiberglass or a composite rod fan. I mean, I've tried several different graphite rods, and I've never, and I'm sure there's one out there, I have no doubt, but I've just never found one that I'm comfortable with. I mean, I'm always a lot more comfortable with either a glass or a composite rod. I will tell you, Ike let me use some of his crankbait rods, and I'm for like $130, dude, I am impressed. Wow. I am very impressed with the little Abu Garcia Ike crankbait rods.
He's got a nice little crankbait.
He's got like a 7-footer that it's like a 7-foot medium action. I could probably throw like a little KVD 1.0 on this, and it is a composite rod. And it's not, I mean, it's not a crazy expensive rod. I think he said it retails for like a 130.
Nice.
So, but it's you know, graphite and composite. It's got a really soft tip. So for those smaller crankbaits, you know, it'll load up. A lot of times, line size is very important in the, you know, little baits like this mutt, this little Norman deep tiny end. Man, I will throw those on 12, 14-pound line. Even around heavy cover.
To me, that's even heavy. Like,
yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of you guys will throw it like on like 8 and 10 pound.
Yeah, I'll use 10 a lot.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I'm not that brave. You're a lot braver than I am.
Well, that's because you catch big fish.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. 12's about as small as I'm going to throw a bait around, you know, any kind of cover and fluorocarbon.
Right.
I mean, I know guys that are like dead set. I mean, if you're going to throw a crankbait, man, it's got to be on monofilament. And I've got a buddy that I fish with at home, and he is like, dude, he still throws his crankbait on 8-pound maximum. That's it. He won't throw it on anything else, man. But and he catches them too. Yeah. I mean, he catches them. But it's 8-pound maxima or die.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way he is.
Well, you know, and here's the deal that I've found too, Kev, is every fisherman, every angler's a little different. Like guys like you know, Kevin are tall and thin and long wingspans. There's, you know, you got different body mechanics.
Right.
And different hook sets and different ways that you manage fish. I, like you, I'm using cash and I use graphite rods, but I've found the action a 7-foot medium is what I like for the smaller crankbaits.
Yes.
Same action. But the deal is you got to pay attention to your strike to catch ratio, right? Bottom line, if your bites are getting off, you got to look at the components of your system.
Right.
You know, is it the rod that I need to make a change with, or a reel, hooks, line?
Is it the hooks? Yeah.
You know, then you start looking at it. But if you're able to efficiently work that bait, trigger the strikes, and your strike to catch ratio is up there, where you're not losing a lot of fish, and I'm thinking, you know, geez, square bill, you know, maybe 80-90% is a good strike to catch ratio to shoot for.
Yeah, probably.
And if you're hitting that mark, you know, you're doing good. But if you're not, if you're losing these fish, you know, you want to look at your rod and you want to try to make some changes there. Maybe try a composite or move to graphite if you're using composite, or bear up on some fish too.
Right.
You know, I've seen a lot of guys, you know, that don't keep enough pressure on that rod. Get that rod bent. And then other guys are too hard in the other direction. They're setting hooks like they're fishing a jig.
I was just going to say, I've got a really good friend at home that I fish with a lot. That, I mean, he throws crankbaits a lot, and when he gets a bite on a crankbait, you'd swear he was setting a hook on a jig, man. But he catches them. He catches them, man. I mean, but he's using, you know, either composite or a a fiberglass rod.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, he jerks on them. He wails on them,
Mm-hmm.
and he you know. He might lose one or two, but I mean, it's not bad at all. But that's just, I mean, it works for him. And I guess, you know, probably the most important thing there is you got to do it. It's one of those things you got to do it enough to figure out what works for you.
Exactly.
You know, you really do.
And that's everybody's a little bit different. So
yeah, but small baits, man. I mean, you know, the smaller baits. I mean, you've got to have, you know, a medium, you know, possibly even a medium light action, so that when you go to cast those smaller baits, I mean, the rod's got to be able to load, and you got to be able to flex the rod so that it'll throw it out there.
That's right.
You have to have that. If you pole's too stiff, it ain't gonna work.
That's a first.
Different show, bro.
Different show.
Different show. Oh, sorry.
But let me jump in.
That was Friday night.
That was Thursday night.
Okay,
that was definitely Thursday night show. But talk about rod action with crankbaits. You know, something that I learned from Mike is he wanted the rod, a soft rod for a crankbait for the action.
Right.
For grass.
Right.
You know, and it would drive me nuts throwing treble hooks in grass, and he loved that crap. You know, I want a stiff rod to pull the crankbait through the grass.
Right.
And he's got a soft glass rod, because he wants to whack it and have that crankbait bounce back.
Yep.
And you know, we're talking about a trap, or we're talking about a a -1 or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
that's
he wants to
way
snatch
back.
it out of the grass.
He wants it to bounce.
Yep.
He does something that is very unique in the world of crankbait fishing when it comes to grass, and I've, you know, I try to duplicate when I see a successful technique by one of the guys winning or what have you, and you're always trying to duplicate it. I can make that happen. Okay, I see what they're doing. Man, that makes a lot of sense. Mike would come in and explain to me what he's doing. I'd watch him. I'd be in the boat watching him do it. I'm like, I'm just getting in your boat. I want you to show me what you're talking about, because I can't duplicate. I'm not getting any strikes. And I watch him do it, and I watch him successfully get. There's something to his technique, the way he takes his hand, free hand, and he bangs into that rod.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he just bang, bang, and he'll do that
snatches it
all
free,
day long, and it creates a movement from that crankbait in the grass that it's hard to duplicate.
Yes.
You know, that's a tricky one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, good luck with that, guy.
Good luck with that. I agree with you, Pete.
What do you got, E?
Eric G wants to know about hook selection on crankbaits. Round gap, extra wide gap. You use different hooks for different baits. How does it go?
Short shanks.
I'm intrigued, because I am a definite fan of what I do, and I don't see a single one. I don't see one of those hooks over here.
All right, let's hear what you got.
Man, I am an EWG style hook, a triple grip style hook. I have converted over to that just so often because it just so often puts the fish in the boat. If I get even one hook point in the fish, I have a good there. Look at that. There it is right there.
Yeah,
there's the EWG style hook.
Yeah.
For those of you that might not know what we're talking about, we got round bend hooks, which the hook comes down and then the points go straight up with respect to the hook shaft. Yep. And then the EWG style hook turn inward slightly. And they, you know, for the techniques that I use, the way that I pressure the fish, the way that I trigger the strikes, it just has improved my strike to catch so greatly that man, I'd take all the hooks off, man. Everything goes over to that style for me. How about you?
I will use those are the Mustad KVD.
Yep.
The little 2X strong.
I love how he's
1X
got short
short.
shank, regular shank.
Yeah.
They've really come up with some nice styles.
I will use those when I know the fish are aggressively biting the bait, particularly in the case of smallmouth. I mean, I use those a lot on smallmouth because they do, once you get a fish hooked, I agree with you. I feel like they hold the fish hooked better than a round bill. I do not, in my experience, I don't think they hook a fish as easily as a round bend hook does because the point is actually turned in just a little bit. Okay,
I understand that.
So
point.
when the fish are, when the fish are when the fish are not as aggressive, when it's a really tough bite and maybe they're just nipping it, in those cases I will opt for a round bend hook because I feel like I hook more fish, and once I get one hooked, then I've got the chance to get him in the boat. But I mean, if that hook point is turned in, I mean, I've had several instances when the fish were not real aggressive, where the fish have actually hit the bait and I've not gotten them hooked and they've immediately come off. But yet I've changed to a round bend hook.
So for say cold water, you're fishing in 42-degree water, 39-degree water. I don't know if you could run into that much, but I would feel like you're going to go round bend in that situation.
Nope.
You're going to go
on man. In the wintertime we fish a lot of suspending jerk baits.
Yeah.
And I actually throw the TG. I think it's the TG 58. It's a light wire. The regular length light wire. Wide, EWG hook that Mustad makes, because most of those fish, it's just one of those weird things, man. Those fish, a lot of times in the wintertime when you're fishing those jerk baits, they will hit that bait so hard. I mean, they will like come up, and I've actually seen them in clear water come up to the bait and inhale it. And I mean, they'll have it like sideways.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. And in those, I mean, I've had the best luck with that little light wire, and even on smallmouth, man. Even on smallmouth, up in the St. Lawrence and places like that where you're fishing a jerk bait and fishing it really fast. I've had the best luck getting fish in on those hooks. But yet, I mean, it's weird on like a crankbait. I've had better luck when they're not as aggressive with a round bend hook.
I got
short,
you.
and usually a short shank.
And that's what I meant when I was talking about cold water, when it's really cold and you got to pause it and they come up.
Oh yeah.
And you're skin hooking.
Yep.
And things like that.
Yeah, those for whatever reason in that scenario, man, that little Mustad light wire, wide gap hook, it's the best, because when you get one of them hooked with that thing,
that's it.
He's coming in the boat.
Right.
I mean, you lose one every once in a while, but they're coming in the boat. Here's a good hook.
Let me explain my thinking on that one hook, skin hook thing. And when you get one fish or one hook point in a fish that's swatting at a bait, slightly taking it on a round bend, when you do that and you just got one hook, this is what happens to the hook. When it's scratching.
Right.
It's not in a penetration position. The EWG style puts the hook.
Where'd it go?
It'll still kick out to the side,
right there.
But it's much more in a direct line of penetration. So it's got a better chance to get in.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
Okay.
Here's how we solve this. Tomorrow, we're going to be on the water. We're going to be doing on-water training. We're going to catch a squarebill fish on a round bend. We're going to release him with instructions to bite again on the EWG style hook on the next cast. And we're going to see which hook performs the best.
Okay.
I mean, and that's the reality.
The way to do it.
Yeah, right?
How
can you ever really be
you
sure which is the best hook to do? Because you can't throw them both at the same time. The measurement has to come in whether you're landing these fish.
It is.
And that's what you have to assess. And if you're missing it, if you're down in the 50% range, man, starting with the hooks is probably the first place that I would start in trying to get
and
landing percentage.
You know,
up.
it doesn't matter to me. The hook has to be sharp.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you know, if you're throwing a bait that's got crap hooks on it, I can promise you're gonna lose fish.
Mm-hmm.
You're just not gonna get them hooked. So I mean, it is. I mean, there's not a bait in these boxes that. I mean, they don't. You know, some of them have gamakatsu hooks on them. Most of them had mustad hooks on them. But, dude, I am always going to use the sharpest hook that I can use.
Right.
I mean, that is so very important.
Now, that's a good question. Do you file or
No.
do you replace? What do you
Take
do?
it off, throw it away, put another one on.
Okay.
I cannot physically sharpen a hook as sharp as they can at the factory.
Right.
There's no way. Particularly the gamakatsu or the mustad.
Even
they're all
in live tournament competition, right? You're jacking them.
Dude,
the fish are biting.
No, man, I can change them so fast.
Yeah.
It's just not even. I mean, it's just not even funny.
Yep. Just using
I
your
mean,
fingernail.
just that quick.
Boom.
Hooks off.
And right back on.
Yeah, and it's
That's
just a practice.
That
thing.
is pretty quick.
It's just a practice.
That's
thing.
a pretty quick change out.
Just like that. Take it off, put a new one on.
Bam. That's no time. That's like tying a knot.
Yeah, I mean, I can sit down, cut the bait off, retie it, put new hooks on it, right back to business.
Right back in.
And it's just practice, repetition. That's all it is.
E, you got a question?
Yeah, let's talk about gear ratio for fishing these square bills. What gear ratio do you use, and is there certain times, certain scenarios when you're using different gear ratios?
That's a good
I'm really interested in your answer to this question because, I mean, you're amazing at triggering the strikes. How important is speed, gear ratio, and what times of year? What do you do?
Man, for me, 90% of the time, I'm using 6.8 to 1 gear ratio reel. Like, and the ones.
That's a moderately, high gear ratio compared to what's available out there today.
The ones I've been using the last couple of years are the little the Lose, Team Lose Custom Pro reels. It's a little 6.8 to 1. I've always used a 6.4, 6.8. Not anything any faster than that. But when I'm throwing one of these baits, I mean, I'm throwing it out there and I'm bringing it home.
Okay.
I mean, this is not, David Fritz, sit down in the, in the fold down seat, prop the rod up against your leg with the 4.7 to 1 reel. That's not what I'm doing.
All right.
But there are times, particularly early in the year, say when you're throwing a shad wrap, when you're throwing one of these small, flat-sided baits, where you do want the bait to not move as fast. And in those situations, I will, slow down to a 5 to 1 gear ratio. But that's not the norm. I mean, for me, it's 6.8 to 1, 14 to 20 pound fluorocarbon.
And see that makes a big difference, guys, when you're using that heavier line
huge
and you're rolling it pretty aggressive.
Yes.
You're picking up a lot of line, moving that bait fast.
Yeah, and that's something that I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people that don't spend a lot of time throwing a crankbait on different size line, they don't understand that. I mean, the same bait, even like this little 2.5. I mean, if you throw it on 12 pound and you throw it on 20, dude, it will run totally different, and it will run at and not only at a different depth, but it'll have a totally different action. On 20 pound line, I don't care how, it can be the best fluorocarbon that Sunline makes, the most supple fluorocarbon, and this bait will still be dead at 20 pound line as compared to 12 pound line. Because it just, I mean, that heavier line really cuts down on the action, and sometimes that's not a bad thing.
Right.
Sometimes it is, and it'll also vary, the depth. And you can use, I mean, we know that. I mean, that's common sense because a bigger line has more drag in the water, but you can use that to your advantage. If you're fishing grass, when the grass is, the top of the grass is 3 foot deep, you can go to a smaller line to help get your bait down to where it's just barely ticking the top of that grass. Or if you got a bigger bait and you're trying to keep it up, you can use a heavier line to keep it up on top.
Right.
And that's really the only time that I will throw monofilament, is in that scenario when there is a specific depth that I need to get a bait to and I can't get it there with fluorocarbon.
You know, get it shallower.
Get it shallower. Yeah,
Right.
never deeper.
Mm-hmm.
Because fluorocarbon, because it's a denser, it's a denser material and it actually sinks.
Mm-hmm.
It's always, to me, it's always going to get your bait deeper, whether it's a crankbait, a jig, whatever. Your bait's going to get deeper with fluorocarbon. But there are times when you fished back in back in the very backs of creeks where all those dead leaves and muck and stuff is on the bottom,
Right.
and if you can just keep your crankbait just above that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
where it's just, instead of digging into it, it's just like barely ticking the high spots,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get bit. That's a perfect place for mono.
Gotcha.
Perfect place.
Wow. See, another use for mono. We thought mono was retired.
No. Not always. No.
No, it's we still see it in topwater, a little bit on crankbait fishing.
Yep.
We talked about Pickwick. I got some of my notes here, and we talked about a lot of these things. Quick, one thing that we always like to do at Bass University is discuss the seasons when these techniques work the best. We talked a little bit about pre-spawn.
Right.
What is the dominant seasons for the square bill crankbait?
But it probably depends on what part of the country you live in.
Mm-hmm.
In the South, in the South, probably the absolute best time to throw, particularly a square bill around stumps, laydowns, wood type cover, to me is like the heat of the summer into probably like the early part of winter, when when you got bluegill, when you got shad that are like using those stumps and laydowns and stuff as cover.
Mm-hmm.
That's the perfect time. And usually, man, some of the absolute best days, some of the absolute best tournaments that I've ever had were those just miserable hot days. Bright blue skies, absolutely no wind, and it's like, it's like 110, and you got like sweat rolling down the crack of or the back of your knees. I mean, it's just miserable.
That shocks me. I mean, you would think the bluebird no wind scenario is not a big square bill day.
Perfect.
That's perfect.
The first open that I ever won in 2003 was on the Tom Bigby Waterway. Out of Columbus, Mississippi.
Yeah, I fished that one.
Dude, it was, I mean, you remember, dude, it was like, it was like middle of August, end of August something, and it was just Serengeti hot.
Yeah.
I mean, miserable. I've still got like the cover of Bass Times, man. I had these like black shorts on, and there's like a sweat ring on my black shorts. Yeah, I mean, it was that hot, man. It was just nasty all week.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the best square bill bite ever.
Wow.
I mean, that last day, I mean, I'd caught them decent, the first couple of days. And I had to fish like 2 or 3 of those little backwater lakes, to catch them in. And the last day, I mean, I'd found like this one area in this one lake that I thought, man, if I can get in here at the right time, because I was seeing like big gizzard shad in it, and it was a little bit deeper water, it had a little bit bigger trees. I thought, man, if I can get in here at the right time, and it was like if I can get in here like 11 to noon, right in the heat, sun's high, heat of the day, I mean, I can crack, and I did, man. I got in there and started throwing my square bill. In fact, I was throwing a big end around those trees, man, and that was, I mean, if you remember, I mean, that was like an ugly tough tournament, man. If you caught like 9 or 10 pounds a day,
yeah,
you were like doing really good. And that's what I'd done. I think I'd caught like 8 pounds the first day, and then man, I caught like another 9 or maybe 10 The second day, the last day, I caught like 17. I mean, it was like big bag of the week
of the year.
Just smoked them, and I won by like 5 or 6 pounds.
Wow.
I mean, just smoked them, and it was. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it was like one of those tournaments where you could not drink enough water, man. You could just not stay hydrated. That to me is the perfect conditions for squarebill.
You hearing that, BTC? It gets calm and sunny and stinking hot.
You better look out. This K-Pink's coming.
I heard that.
And he's bringing
squarebill
hell
time.
with him.
I mean,
crazy.
I've been
Yes.
putting my crankbaits away when that time comes.
Yeah.
Negative Ghost Rider.
Yes, sir. Well, that's what we're always learning here at Bass U.
That's interesting.
That is super interesting.
I mean, Eric did catch one on a square bill in one of our Thursday nighters a couple weeks ago.
Was
and
that
the
on the
water
Cooper
temp
River?
was 90. Newton Creek.
Newton
Water
Creek.
temp was 92, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's pretty hot.
Well,
I didn't think they'd be moving.
Yeah, the
Oh,
hot
yeah.
thing I get, right?
Yes.
I get that. But the sunny, calm,
Yeah.
it makes sense. This is a complete reaction tool.
Oh, totally reaction.
And,
And they're
you know,
up against
I
that stuff
missed
so
it.
tight, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's the deal is they're getting, they're getting in that shade of the tree or that shade of the laydown or whatever, man. And they're laying up against that stuff tight because it's slick, it's calm, and it's like they want to get sucked up against there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're not out roaming.
Man, well, that's my
So there you
second
go.
blow your hair back moment here tonight at Bass U with Kevin. We got another question for me?
Yeah, slightly different subject. A lot of people talking about the Zoom WEC crankbaits. They wanted to know if you had any comments on the passing of Ed Chambers.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
You're talking to him? You're talking to us?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah.
You're
'cause
looking at him, but
That would be a Kevin Short question.
That would be a
probably.
Kevin
That's-
Short question.
question for the
Honestly,
room.
man, that's another one that I missed. When did he pass?
Pete, where have you been,
Man.
man?
There was a big tennis tournament. Pete
Holy
checks out one tennis.
I've been in all the wrong places. I'm putting my crankbaits away when I should be picking them up, and I'm missing a lot of the news. So,
I think it was maybe in the middle of May.
wow.
Yeah, he had a little bout with cancer, and I he had gone through and done treatments with that. He had been down to MD Anderson, and then there with his local physician, and they thought that they kind of had that under control, but he didn't actually. He didn't actually die from that. I think it was. I think he had a heart attack, and I mean it was probably complications from from the treatments. And that's on a side note, man, that's the horrible thing about cancer is a lot of time, and we all know people that have died that have had cancer, not necessarily from cancer, but from the treatments. So I feel for anybody that's in that situation. But Ed obviously founded Zoom Baits 35, 36 years ago. Was still involved with the plastic side of it. His son, Eddie Jr., Eddie Wortham, Chris Baxter, his daughter Kim, kind of ran the thing. It was really funny because they had started basically in their garage and moved to a barn, and they built several other barns around it to like house all the stuff. And then I guess probably 12, 15 years ago, maybe longer. I guess it's about 15 years ago. They actually built a whole new building, and they had added onto it 2 or 3 times. Senior he'd go to New Zoom, he'd go to the plant for 30 minutes or an hour and walk through, visit with everybody, and he'd basically get everybody all stirred up because they were never doing it right. I mean, it didn't matter how they were doing it, man. They were not doing it right. So he would go into the plant and get everybody all fired up over something, and then he'd just leave. And go to the old plant, go to old Zoom, and build his crankbaits, man, because that's what he loved to do.
Yeah.
So I mean, he had the kids taking care of the plastics, and then he'd go down and work on his crankbaits the rest of the day. And that was his routine. And he was one of those guys that, I mean, if if there was a solution to be found or a solution was needed for anything, he was one of those guys that could figure it out. I mean, he was a crafty old fart, man. I mean, there was all of his fixtures, all of his tools, dude, everything. I mean, he'd built it all. I mean, if there was a fixture that he needed to hold a bait just a certain way to drill the belly weight into it, dude, he would build that fixture to hold that bait. Cutting the bills in, man, all of it. I mean, he would figure out a way to, and he was just one of those guys that I can't even tell you how many baits that other companies, other people had sent to him and said, we can't figure out how to make this thing run. He would look at it. He had an old like cattle watering tank that was like his test tank. Okay, you'd think he'd have like a huge pond or something, but no, he had like this 6 foot long watering tank with like a big piece of plywood to cover it up, keep stuff from getting in it. And he'd go up there and pull the plywood up, hold it back with a hook, and then he had like a 3.5 foot section of fiberglass rod with about 3 foot of line and a clip on and a snap on the end of it, and he'd snap a crankbait on it and run it back and forth through that little test tank. And he'd
diagnose.
He'd call them or send it back to him or whatever and say, if you do this, this, and this, your bait will run. I mean, I could list like big names, big money baits that have been fixed because somebody was smart enough to say, we need to send it to Ed Chambers, because he can figure it out. And I mean, he didn't care, man. He enjoyed doing it, and to him it wasn't. Man, he never built one of these baits to try and make $1. Because I promise you, he did not make money on these baits. No, he made money on plastics. Oh yeah, no, he
got
made
a lot of my money on plastics.
Yeah, you bet. He made money on soft plastics, but this was, I mean, it wasn't just his hobby, man. It was his passion. Yeah. So he was the only one that actually painted every single one of these. And he had 2 or 3 guys that would actually cut the bodies, drill them, base coat them, glue, they would do all of that. But Mr. Chambers was the only one that painted. So, dude, there are no more. Yeah. It's over. I mean, if you haven't bought them by now, you're not going to. Right. Because it's done. Wow. Whatever's on eBay,
whatever's
dude,
in Ken's tackle box.
Whatever, yeah. I mean, whatever I've got stashed away in my gun safe, dude, that's it. I mean, we're not getting any more.
I think we ought to.
It's just not happening.
What features about them made them so special? Because it was a big bait for you, correct?
I mean, I own a lot of balsa baits. Man, I've got a lot. I've got a lot of old Bagleys. I've got some of Phil Hunt's up in Indiana. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff from the Carolinas. Old stuff from Tennessee that guys have made. I think what made Ed's the best was, number one, the consistency of them. And the consistency came from the fact that he was so meticulous about how every single one of them was built. When they would glue in the belly weight, they would actually take, well, first off, every box of balsa that he would get, they would take and weigh every single stick of balsa. And he'd have a range that, I mean, he'd write the weight on the end of the stick, so he knew exactly how much it was. And then he would separate them out. So, those that were lighter would be used for these baits. The stuff that was denser and heavier would be used for these baits. That's where it started. After he would get the body cut and base coated and everything, and they would actually glue the belly weight in. They would actually weigh the bait on a gram scale, and every single one of them, depending on what model it was, they'd have a little chart there. Every single one of them had to weigh within this many grams of the perfect weight. And if they needed to drop, a few little steel shot into it before they glued the belly weight in, they'd do it. They were that meticulous. Okay. It was just all those little things. And there's like 58. I mean, one of these baits would get handled 58 times before it was actually put in the box and shipped.
That's pretty wild. I kind of learned a little something about that with the balsa weighting some shad wraps for Mike and seeing how different each one was.
Exactly.
Every bait is different, and what it would take to try to get them neutrally buoyant.
Yeah.
And then even the temperature of the water played a part.
Sure.
And of
There's
course,
a lot. There's a lot going on with one of these little baits.
Oh, for sure.
This is these little baits, particularly the E1, all of his baits, as a matter of fact. These are the only balsa baits that I've ever used where I could take 12 of them, and out of the 12, 10 of them would be really good baits. Now, I mean, years ago when Bagley was like the bait to have, a buddy of mine and I bought a gross. I mean, we bought 144 balsa B2s in 09. Chartreuse blackback.
Yeah.
We bought 144 of the things because, I mean, we were catching fish on them, man. And we wanted the line tie. The reason we had to buy that many is we wanted the line tie to be like all the way down on the bill, not up on the nose, but all the way down on the bill.
Right.
So I'll never forget, there was this lady, when they were in Florida, there was this lady named Barb at the plant. And I called her. I was like, is there a way for us to get, I mean, we want some of these balsa B2s with a line tie down on the bill. She's like, well, if you'll buy a gross, we'll build them for you. Paint them whatever color you want. So we got 144, split them up. And this was when Bagley was like really good. Okay. Out of those 72 that were my half, I bet 40 of them I would never throw.
Wow.
32 of them were really good. I mean, they had just the right action. I mean, they'd hunt,
Sure.
But those other 40, dude, they were okay, but they weren't right.
What's the key with the line tie being down on the bill?
It gives it a wider wobble.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're and see, some guys want that real subtle action. Okay, if your line tie is up here, like up on the nose, it's got a lot flatter. It'll have a lot flatter wiggle to it. Okay, if it's down lower,
get it down on that bill,
changes the angle, man.
Yeah,
changes it. Yeah, when you got it down, you're pushing more water with that bill.
Yeah.
Whereas if you got it up, it's got a lot less subtle action. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just it's just different.
Yeah, they changed a lot. I remember the bills on those baits. I used to get the killer B2s.
Yeah.
And fish those a lot around current, and you could look at the angle of the bills were so different.
And
from
you'd
year
know
to year.
but you'd know which angle you wanted.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Clearly, the straighter it was, the less vibration it had.
Yes.
And they just didn't. The whole key to that bait was it was a thumper.
Yes.
And you needed it to thump, and in order for it to thump it, that bill had to be down at 45 degrees.
Yeah, but that was, man, to me, that's the I don't even know how to say it. I mean, that's kind of the art, if you will, of the WEC baits, is the fact that they were extremely consistent.
Well, and just like we did at ICAST, Brian, anything that's demonstrated here at the show stays here.
That's right.
At the show.
Get Kevin another drink.
Appreciate that, Kevin.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But man, what an influence in our sport. What an influence on baits.
Oh, I'm telling you. Think about all the stuff that Zoom did, man. Think about all the first.
The pumpkin seed with the chartreuse tail lizard.
Yes.
Revolutionized the plastics industry.
Is the man. Well, the way that they build plastic baits revolutionized the industry. They were the first ones that did small batch. Okay, high volume. Before it was small batch, hand pour, low volume. Okay, or you had high volume and very inconsistent. Very
few SKUs. Like with Zoom, you could get any color in the rainbow. 50 different colors available for those baits.
Yep.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is, when you get a pack of lizards, or you get a pack of speed craws, or U-tails, or whatever it is, however many is in that pack, that's how many was in that mold.
Right.
Every time. So if it's horny toads, when that mold for the horny toad opens up and they pull that runner out, it's got 5 horny toads on it.
Right.
And they know, and people say, well, why is there only 5 in there? Well, there's the same amount of plastic in 5 horny toads as there is in 15 speed craws. If you don't believe me,
Wow.
weigh them.
Okay.
Put them on a scale and weigh them, dude. That's how they figure out.
How many in a pack?
Yeah, how many's in a pack?
Well,
Because it's
another blow your hair back on.
It's the price of plastic,
Right.
man.
I got you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
There's
It's
a lot
funny,
more
yeah.
plastic
You
in
get
a horny
20
toad.
finesse worms in a pack
Exactly.
for the same reason.
Yeah.
Friends of ours just went down to fish the regional on Winya Bay. Dave Haas and his son Jake. And Jake actually won for Jersey.
Nice.
So he's going on to, I guess, wherever the Nation event's going next. But he was saying how that there was a key color, blue moccasin, that he had heard was key color. And I was like, man, let me go digging. And I actually had some from 15 years ago. Or
Did you really?
No, 20 years ago. Wow, it was way before I was married. Oh, probably 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, blue moccasin U-tail worms. So I went and dug out a couple packs of them, sent them down there with them. I still had them. They were super key for a minute, you know.
Yeah.
You know how it is every summer there'd be a new hot
yeah.
bait that you load up on and never catch one again on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember buying centipedes when they were hot, the pumpkin
yeah.
chartreuse tail lizards.
Yeah.
I remember back in the early 90s going to Maine, and we won the Federation Divisional Tournament. Me and my the New Jersey team, and we won it.
Nice.
Not flipping, but casting Zoom pumpkin seed chartreuse tail lizards for smallmouth on offshore humps.
Wow.
And
I
everybody
bet
else
they've
was
never seen that.
Yeah, everybody else was largemouth fishing. We went after the
Right,
smallmouth, and our team, walked away with the trophy
they did.
back then.
That's
and yeah, wow. Well, it's news to me, and I apologize for that. But thoughts and prayers to his family. Revolutionary man in the world of bass fishing and lure, manufacturing, design. What a huge influence. And thanks for the question.
Yep. Good question.
Who was that?
Cressy, and he said, "Thanks, Kevin. That was an awesome story. It's
No
exactly
problem.
what he was looking for."
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for watching. BTC, you want to take a break and come back and talk Chesapeake talk?
Yeah.
You want to do that?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah.
All right, let's do that. We're going to take a quick break, guys. If you are watching over on Facebook, don't forget you're in a contest. If you share our live Facebook feed, we're $50 prize pack of Riot Baits is going to be to the winner. And if you're not a subscriber to Bass U TV, come on over and try it. You can talk to me and Kevin. We're going to be talking the upper Chesapeake Bay. The boys are going down there this week. It's going to be a major tournament. It's going to fish completely differently from the last time that they were here. So we'll be talking about that. Come over and join Bass U TV. You can instant message us questions. And we got a lot of great stuff coming. So we'll be right back with more Bass University Live. This is going to be to the winner. And if you're not a subscriber to Bass U TV, come on over and try it. You can talk to me and Kevin. We're going to be talking the upper Chesapeake Bay. The boys are going down there this week. It's going to be a major tournament.
TV, and I want to talk to you about the importance of good optics when you're bass fishing. And I don't care whether it's during the spawn when we're trying to see the fish visually, or any time of year that we're fishing in the shallows where we want to see the habitat, or even in the deep water where we can see things like fish chasing our baits, we can see them following them, identify the species. The ability to be able to get good depth penetration through the water is just paramount as a bass fisherman. It just helps you become a better angler. And I'm going to just give you some simple choices that I use to pick my glasses that, for the various conditions. And you can see right now on a day like today, it's overcast, it's low light conditions, we've got a little bit of breeze. These make looking through the water very, very difficult. So I'm using a lens. I like a brown lens or even an amber lens to be able to see through the water a little bit better in these low light conditions. These are Popticles glasses, excellent nylon lens, which has incredible visibility, which I believe really lets me see a little bit deeper into the water. So you got to try to check these guys out. But in these conditions, I'm going to use this, this brown lens, which is going to give me a little bit more visibility. Now, in situations when the sun's out, I'm going to go with a different lens choice altogether, because this is going to give me a little bit more protection, and it's going to help me in those real bright conditions. And I'm going to use a reflective dark lens, a gray lens that's going to help me get a lot more visibility or a lot more protection, and is a lot better in the really, really bright light conditions. Now in these conditions, I like the brown lens a lot better. It's going to give me a lot more visibility. But in the bright lights, of course, I'm going to choose these Popticles. But here's what I'm going to be looking for, like I alluded to before, is I'm always going to be looking for targets. I'm going to be trying to identify stumps that are ahead of the boat, blow down trees, grass edges. I see so many guys go fishing in the shallows and they don't wear their polarized glasses because it's low light conditions, early in the morning or what have you, but you're missing so many opportunities. You definitely want to have them on all the time. And when the fish are spawning, it's obviously a critical component, because they're going to show themselves to you. You're going to see things that let you know that the spawn is taking place. And what I call that is like springtime activity. When I get in the backs of these pockets, I'm using my glasses to see stuff like bluegills suspended high up in the water column, carp suspended high up in the water column. And on a really good sunny day, in the early season, you'll see those big bass come and suspend high up in the water column. You want to look for things like tails. The bass has a very distinct black marking on his tail, and you want to look for that. A lot of times I'll be around blow down trees, docks, and I can't see the whole fish, but I might just be able to see a piece of his tail. And you see that distinctive black line down it, you know it's a bass. And in the springtime, you know, that's an awesome little feature. So you want to always wear your glasses. They're certainly going to protect your eyes. We spend so much time in the sun, and that's so very important. What else I like about these Popticles is they give me protection from the wind when I'm driving the boat. They really block the wind nicely, and when you're running these boats from place to place, that's such an asset. But always wear them. Always wear them, no matter what time of year it is. Spring, summer, fall, protection of your eyes, but most importantly as a fisherman, to be able to see the habitat, to be able to see the types of fish you're targeting. So make sure you've got a good pair of optics. I use Popticles, and you can find out more about them at thebassuniversity.com. But I'm out here on the water for Bass University TV. I'm Pete Gluzak.
Welcome to Bass University TV, an online video training course where you'll learn champion bass fishing techniques from pro anglers Pete Gluzak, Mike Iaconelli, and their talented special guests. From on the water to in the classroom, you'll learn sound techniques and strong fundamental bass fishing skills. Watch hours of video content on multiple topics at your own pace for a low monthly fee. Cancel at any time. Information is power in the sport of fishing, so learn from the very best. Subscribe to Bass University TV today.
And action.
Everybody, welcome back to Bass University Live with Kevin Short, K Pink. Even his drink is pink, ladies and gentlemen.
This is fact.
Fact right there. Yes.
Hey, everybody's got their color. You've done well.
Do what you got to do, brother.
Yes. You want to take a moment and talk about that?
Sure. I mean, dude, I'm open. Whatever.
Well, explain to, you're known as K Pink, for a big reason, for major cause.
Yeah, it actually started out as back in 2006 when the Elite Series first started. I'd fished the Bassmaster Tour for a couple of years, and Carrie and I were trying to figure out, okay, if we're going to do this, we got to figure out a way to, to kind of stand out and, look different.
Mm-hmm.
And Skeet, Skeet had the yellow thing. He'd already started the yellow thing, had it going on. And we
Nobody told me that I needed a color. BTC?
Yeah.
Come on.
We started looking through like photos of weigh-ins, and there was like reds and blues and black, and the colors just all kind of ran together. And man, I had at the time I worked for Farm Bureau there in Arkansas, and I had this little button-down shirt that was like, it was like freaking bright pink. Had the little Farm Bureau logo on it, and every time I would wear that shirt, all the women would say, that color looks really good on you. And all the guys would be like, dude, I don't know about that shirt, man. But everybody noticed that shirt. So we're looking at these photos, and Carrie's like, hey, how about pink? And I'm like, what, like girly pink? And she's like, no, like that Farm Bureau shirt that you got. It was like a manly kind of pink.
There's a
Yeah,
manly.
there is a manly pink. It's got to, it's got to be dark enough. It can't be like light and all pastel and everything.
All right.
So I was like, oh man, I don't know about that. But she, thankfully she taught me into it, and man, I had shirts made that were like pink and black and a little bit of white in them, and then we wrapped the boat in like pink, and dude, the rest is history, I guess you could say. But it got that. I tell you what, I got a lot of grief from it that first year in 2006. Man, I got a lot of grief for it for having a pink boat. But when we were going around the country, I had 3 page 1 newspaper shots around the country.
Right.
The Oklahoman was one. That's like the newspaper in Oklahoma.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the front page of the sports section. I'm talking about page 1A. Big pink boat right there, baby.
Nice.
Yes, I had 3 of those that first year. And after that, everybody was like, oh, maybe he knew what he was doing. Yeah. It's like, no, I didn't, but my wife sure did.
Wow.
It was that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's in a nutshell. And a lot of other people said, oh, well, he's doing it for breast cancer. He's doing it for his daughter. And it's like, no, we just thought it was a color that showed up, man. That's what it was all about.
Well, we talked
so there you go.
A little about this earlier, BTC, at the MMA, and trying to stand out and the importance of that. And, Skeet did it with the color yellow. Ike did it with his
shenanigans,
antics,
yelling,
screaming over the top
on the shark teeth.
That's true.
Kevin or Van Dam stood out with catching every single fish
by whipping everybody's butt. Yes.
Yep. So
no, we did talk about that. About like you said, like Mike, just like Conor McGregor was to MMA. You know what I mean? Just being that big presence.
Yeah, in the world of social media and in media in general,
you got to be unique.
You got it. You just can't win. Yeah. You got to win with class, with cachet, with something unique. And that was a brilliant move by Mrs. Short.
Yes, dude.
Apparently,
I'm telling you, I give all the credit to her.
Yeah,
because it was not my idea. I implemented it and helped implement it, but dude, it was all her.
That's pretty bold.
All her.
Rolling out in pink.
Scared the hell out of me.
Yeah. Well, hey, I want to give just a few shout outs. For WeGo, the official jump starter of Bass University. If you guys own a boat or a truck or a car,
gotta have
or a motorcycle,
gotta have
you gotta have this is a WeGo 44. This will jumpstart your boat. Yes. It will jumpstart your truck.
That's crazy.
It weighs about 1.5 pounds.
Yep.
You can put it anywhere. And it will bail you out of any situation in your boat when your live wells run your batteries down or your sonar does. You got 25 pounds of fish in the live well. You need to get back in. Boom. You got to have this.
That's your man right there.
This is it. So we want to thank them. We talked a lot about squarebill fishing. I just want to give a shout out to Cash and Rods, who this is the John Cruz squarebill rod. I want to invite you guys to go check that out. I just got mine. I caught some giant Chesapeake squarebill fish on the rod this year, and I love it.
I got to check that out, Pete.
So go
'cause I'm
check it
looking.
out. What's that?
I got to check that out. I'm looking for one right now.
They build a good rod, man. They really do.
They really do. It's made in America. It's lifetime warranty. It's a great little
It's good
product.
stuff.
And they are the rod of the Bass University. We want to thank them for that. So go check those guys out. But man, oh man, we got a big tournament. I know you fished the Open on the Chesapeake. Did you fish the first Elite on the Chesapeake?
I fished the Open. Actually fished two. I think I fished 2 Opens.
Okay. Yeah. There's been 2 there.
2 Opens, and then the Elite was there. I guess 2015. Is that when it was there?
Yeah, I think
14
3
or
years
15.
ago.
Yeah, I think
that
it's
sounds
15.
right. Yep.
The first Open was what was it, like end of March, 1st of April? It was early.
It was in April.
Was
that
it?
was the one Dave Mansu won?
Yeah, the one Man Dave Sue won.
Man
yeah.
Dave.
Sorry, man.
Shout
Dude,
out to
I
Dave.
did really, really well in that one. I think I finished maybe like 13th or 14th.
Now, as I remember fishing around you in one of them, and you were in the middle of Furnace Bay.
Yes, that was the first one. That's the only place I could get a bite, man.
You were going back and forth on the grass.
Dude, I
bed
had
out
one
there.
little patch of grass.
Yeah.
That, I mean, I caught them. I think I caught like 3 or 4 there the first day.
Yeah.
And they weren't. I mean, you know, I didn't catch a lot of fish there, but the ones I was catching were good ones.
And
you
that's
know?
all you needed to do.
Dude, that's
well
all
in
you
that
needed to
tournament.
do. Yeah, and I was. I mean, it was me, and I think you were. You know, you were like fishing out a little bit further, and there was like 2 or 3 other guys the first day. Okay, the second day, it was like, oh, there's that guy in the pink boat. He's like in the top 5. Holy smokes, man! I mean, I had to like take a 3/4
There's
ounce.
desperation going on.
Oh my
in that
God!
event.
I had to take a 3/4 ounce, and I wasn't throwing a 3/4 ounce. I was throwing a 1/2 ounce. But man, I'd see guys coming at me, and I'd take a 3/4 ounce red eye shad and like wing it right at their trolling motor. Like, no, that's far enough, man. Just that's as far as you need to come.
Boxing them out.
Oh my God!
Yep.
Just stay off of my grass, man. It was a tough bite, man.
I caught around the bend out in front of the hospital out there. I caught 30 bass on that first day.
Did you really?
Not one of them made 15 inches.
Oh yeah,
Not
because it
one.
was that 15-inch limit that time of year.
It was
wasn't
15
Yeah,
inches,
yeah.
and at the time the bay was polluted with these 12 to 14 inches.
Yep.
You know, and you know
That was before the big fish rolled in.
all those fish grew up.
Yeah,
I'm
they
telling
all
you,
grew
those
up.
are the fish
Yep.
we've
Yes.
been catching.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
and now we're seeing a redistribution. We
True.
now we have all sizes out on the bay,
Yep.
and we have a 12-inch limit for these guys. But
Right.
but I went out on the second day, and I wasn't going to go do that again.
Yeah.
So I just went running different types of habitat, and in 15 minutes I pulled up on a set of blowdown trees, and I caught 3 4-pounders, and I missed one.
Nice.
And I got a check with those 3 4-pounders
my
that
goodness.
went
Yeah.
12 pounds.
Yes.
And
That was your 2-day wait?
that was my 2-day wait.
Oh, wow. that
Oh
was a
yeah.
tough-
I got
It
a
was
check.
tough.
I got a check in that tournament. It was tough because of the 15-inch limit.
Yes.
It was
Yes.
tough. You know, there wasn't a lot of big fish to feed the whole field back then.
And
But
it was,
I remember
it
that
was
tournament
like,
well.
man, I want to say it was like 199 boats.
Yeah,
or it was
full
a big
field.
field.
My
Big
God.
field.
Points,
Yes.
I'll never forget it. The points of Furnace Bay
Yeah.
had
Oh,
like
jeez.
3 layers of boats.
It was stupid.
Oh.
out off the points.
Oh.
There was like a row of boats nose to motor, to motor, and then another row out beyond them, nose to motor, and then another row
Yeah, it was bad.
of boats just all thrown at each other's motors
Yeah.
for all day. It was the most amazing thing.
It was. It was.
But
You know,
they-
it's crazy that you caught like 30 pounds, or it caught like 30 fish. I mean, I think I might have caught like 10
Right?
the whole tournament.
Mm-hmm.
But
They were the big ones.
yeah, they were the ones that you wanted to.
Well,
catch.
we were waiting for them to move where you were at. Like that's where they go. They go in there
Yeah.
to spawn,
Yeah.
and
Well,
they
there
were,
was a few of them in there.
yeah,
just,
they
you know,
started to come in, you
Right,
know, but they
right.
weren't all
they
the
weren't
way
there
in.
yet. Yeah, yeah.
But you
It's
did a
crazy.
good job picking them off, getting the ones that were moving in. And
You know
and
what? That's the only time I've ever caught them in the Upper Chesapeake Bay.
Is
The
that
other
right?
dude, the other 2 tournaments, I sucked.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It is. Oh, there's, and you know the crazy thing is, I mean, I looked at a lot of places, and I practiced in a lot of places, and I thought, man, I ought to be able to catch them in here.
Yeah. They eat a square bill there.
They eat a square. They've got to eat. They have to eat a square bill here. And I was never in the right place at the right time.
Right.
And I really feel like that the Upper Chesapeake is one of those places where if you're not in the right place at the right time, you might not catch anything.
Yeah. It is odd like that.
It is crazy.
It really is, and it was that way for the last elite tournament there.
Yeah.
And you know, Aaron, of course, you know, everybody knows where he won. He went down the bay.
Right.
And if anybody if he would have asked me, you know, should I go practice in that river, and I would have told him no.
No.
We haven't won a tournament in that river for 20 years.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know, there's fish kills there every winter.
Yep.
The fish population is greatly reduced.
Yep.
But just before your tournament, a group of winning fish swam in there.
Yeah.
And he decided to go and check it out smartly, wisely, as did Randy Howe was in there.
What?
Carl
Jacobson
was
top,
in there.
top
Yeah.
12 in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were several guys in the top 12 in that one little river.
Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was really it's so beautiful in there too.
Yeah.
The milfoil is lush from bank to bank. The bluegills are always there. And years ago, we used to run there.
Really?
I mean, we would run wherever we were at to get there.
From northeast down there.
To northeast from the Delaware River sometimes.
Bob Sully ran there from the
Really?
Delaware.
Go through
the canal?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
To get down to that
Took it to
river.
the Bush River. That's crazy.
And
Middle River.
Middle River. Yeah.
Sorry, Middle River.
The you know, so that was surprising. Now, one of the things that was really surprising was the flats, the big Susquehanna flats, 25 square miles of grass beds that I think there was probably 5 fish weighed in the entire tournament out of when you guys were there.
Barren. There was nobody out there, man.
It was crazy.
There was one person out there.
Well, there was one person. Yeah.
Yes.
The first day.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't there the second day. No.
And he
wasn't there.
Oh man, he had caught him so good at practice, and got led astray because the fish were still there.
Yeah, they just.
But it's like there's something to do with the brackish, some water, the drought situations, the moss. I don't know. I
thought we had a tides. I don't know. I thought we had a really crazy tide situation.
Well, we had
whatever it was.
We had a flood tide that came in, and he caught the crap out of him out there in that particular scenario, and you know. But then it didn't develop during the tournament. Nobody did. I was working with the Bassmasters camera crew. I'm going to be working with them again this year. So
Good for you, Pete.
they're like, Pete, where do I send the camera boats? I'm like, well, you got to have 3 boats on the flats. Right, that's where all the guys are going to catch them. That's where first, second, third's coming from. So send them to the flats. You know, so you got to have a boat here. You got to have a boat there. And you know, of course, that was a bad deal. It just didn't work out. But I think what's happening this year, they're weeks ahead of last year.
Right.
They're closer to the spawn. The fish are still spread out. I think it's going to fish a lot better for a lot of the anglers. You know, they're going to find isolated grass or points or whatever they find, different creeks that are where they're going to be able to catch them. Where's
it going to be one at, Pete?
Yeah. What's that?
Where's it going to be one?
Well, you know,
don't say the flats.
I'm telling you right now, if I'm in that tournament, I am fishing the flats.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't know if it can be one there. And the reason why I say that is, you know, the guys are so good, all the guys in this tournament, that if they find an isolated population of fish in one of the other ancillary places, they'll be fishing events a lot less pressure.
Ancillary.
You know,
Big words.
That was a good one.
That's
Dude.
a good word, bro.
That's the first time you've ever said that in this room.
That's
well,
pretty
this
good.
is the
Fantastic.
university speak. You know, we got to
incredible.
act accordingly. But but you know, I and that's what surprised me. Like you know, Aaron showed me that finding that isolated population of fish that was not getting any pressure but him, even though I feel like other areas have the potential to put out more weight when
It's a 4-day event.
it's a 4-day event when you stack all those guys together and split them all out. You know, I don't know, but you know, like I said, I think the flats are going to fish. I think a lot more guys are going to fish out there. I think the Northeast Creek, which housed 70% of the field
Yeah, there's a
last
lot of
year
guys, yeah.
is now going to not be as populated with boaters.
A
you know?
handful of guys salvaged the event by laying up for smallmouth too, right?
Yeah, well, the
Which
smallmouth.
was interesting.
Well, because of like we were talking about, like it was like the haves and the have-nots
Right.
Yeah.
in that tournament. You know, so the guys that went after smallmouth and got 12 pounds, all of a sudden
That
that
was
was
pretty good.
That was a
They
good
top
bag.
50,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty good.
Yeah, they top 50.
Exactly.
It's better than
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
Better than the
Bottom
have-nots.
50.
Bottom 50.
Right.
Yeah.
What do you think about all the rain? How's the rain going to affect it?
That's a great question,
That's a
E,
good question.
because that has not been a factor down there in recent weeks, last few months. And it is a freshwater estuary, right? So rain comes in everywhere. It muddies places up.
Second largest in the world.
Second largest in the world.
Yep.
Another university tidbit there. Thank you,
There you
BTC.
Yep.
Brown University.
The so I depending on the volume, and here's the deal, guys listening at home. It's a giant estuary that the Susquehanna River runs all the way up through New York State, right? It's a big giant
Right.
river.
Right.
What you have to see is the rain event local or is it regional?
Right.
If it's a regional event, that means the Susquehanna is impacted, and it will tear that bay to pieces if that happens. If there's
Right.
inches and inches of rain, the Susquehanna will crest and dump mud and
Right.
trees, and it'll wipe out acres of the fishery. If it's localized, the creeks are going to get muddy temporarily. Maybe clean up. Will they clean up in time for the tournament?
Right.
Will it be muddying during the tournament? Big wild card. A lot of guys. How many in the top 12 were fishing in the back of a creek last time?
Yeah.
Half of them,
Yeah, there's
three-quarters
quite
of
a
them.
few. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
So the rain, that's it. Where does the rain impact first? Back to the creeks.
Yeah.
Have you ever fished the canal, the C&D canal?
I have, but only a few times. I wonder where is it cut off?
Yeah, they can't even go in there.
They can't enter it, so it's point to point.
Can't enter.
Can't go in
Yeah.
the canal.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's that's the way it always was when we were there before.
Okay.
I mean, like straight line across the mouth of the canal, you can't go
Right.
through there. Yeah.
See, I thought maybe they'd put it in the middle of the canal.
No.
Right at the
I think
mouth.
it's right at the mouth. Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. So
Now you can run all the way down to the Potomac if you want to.
Ish timed that out. He would have 30 minutes to fish.
Jeez.
Ish would like to drain the Chesapeake Bay. Last I talked to
he
him
wants
about
to
it.
James
I'm right there
Delaware,
with him, dude. I'm right there with him. That place is after that first tournament, man. It has not been friendly to me
Well,
ever.
here,
I know they live there, but I've never figured out how to catch them.
well,
Pete, I'm
here's
going to throw the keep going conversation. I'm going to throw the phone number up on the board here. Let's take some calls as we carry on.
all right.
You cool with that?
Yeah, come. Look for where's the phone? There it is, right there.
Yep.
Guys, call in. Any questions you want to talk to me or Kevin about? Square bills, Chesapeake,
What
Delaware
Pete's
River?
what Pete's color should have been?
Yeah,
Oh,
Pete.
that's right.
What should your color have been? What's your color? Orange for the
well,
Bass
it is
University?
now.
It is,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's huge.
Orange and blue. It's it's almost like Auburn colors.
Yeah,
it's very
it is.
similar. to
Well,
Auburn
everywhere we go,
colors.
Oklahoma State or one.
Oh yeah. OSU.
Yeah, they're orange and
Cowboys. Yeah,
blue.
Flyers.
But it is big deal.
It's distinctive.
The
It looks
color
good.
is
I like it.
distinctive, and it matters. And BTC should have.
So is
told
that
me
like
that 20 years
orange
ago.
or is that tangerine? And what's the difference?
That's it.
What is it?
Well, we're
I
still
don't know.
trying
I'm
to figure it
asking you.
out. At ICAST, we had 5 different hues of orange on all of our signage for some reason.
Oh,
This is true.
You got to pick. You got to pick one. Yeah, you got to pick one or go.
We
with
got to
it.
decide. We thought we did, but
Yeah.
after the print shop was done with our stuff, it was all different.
Ouch. Okay.
But anyway, the Bush River is where the tournament's being launched out of this time.
Yeah,
right? The back of the bush.
We always went out of Northeast.
Right.
The little town at the very end of it. And they scratched that, and then they went to that marina that's up in Susquehanna.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I guess the little town, the dock owners there were like, yeah, no, we don't want to put up with you, so
That's
you got to
right.
go somewhere else.
Yeah, they would all had to move their boats for the tournament.
Yeah. So isn't the isn't the ramp in the Bush River, isn't that in the APG?
It
the
is
Aberdeen Proving Grounds. How's that going to work out?
That is the question of the hour. We're
so
all
like
waiting to see.
if the base commander at Aberdeen
shuts it down,
says today we're going to have an exercise.
Yep.
Until 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You, dude. I mean, I don't know about you, but I have tried to go in there when they were having an exercise, and I mean, I didn't know they were having an exercise, except for the big boat with the big guns that's like cut me off.
Yep.
And they're like, you can't come in here.
Lights flashing.
How's that going to work out?
Well, here's how it has worked out in past tournaments.
Okay.
Guys would travel to the Bush River, which, for those of you, the Aberdeen Proving Grounds is a military facility where they train soldiers. They blow up things.
Test, I mean, they test artillery. They test all kinds of stuff.
Right, and they own a big portion of the Chesapeake, which is at times there's you're not allowed to go there. And when they're doing these exercises, like you talked about, there's the Bush River and the gunpowder. There's parts of it where they shut it down. And you can't go in.
Nope.
And if you're in the back, which is what we've had problems with,
you can't get out.
You can't get out. So you've got a limit of fish in the boat. You're trying to get back to the weigh-in, and the military says, "Hey, you know, I know your tournament's very important.
We're having an exercise,
but we're gonna be here for another 2 hours."
Yep.
And so you can't go, and you lose, and you dump your fish back, and you don't get to weigh in. So
I sincerely hope that is not an issue, but it could very well be an issue.
Because the launching facility where they're taking off from is behind the off-limit or the Aberdeen Proving Grounds zone.
Yes.
So if they're doing exercises in the morning, the guys may not be able to leave.
Yep.
If they're doing exercises in the afternoon, the guys may not be able to get back.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had heard some thought or some talk, and this is all rumor. I have no connection with the officials at Bass, but some guys were suggesting maybe they ought to go take off outside of the Proving Grounds, like launch at the Bush and take off outside of the Proving Grounds and check in outside the Proving Grounds.
Still got to get back in.
But at least that way you can fish, check your fish in, and wait for the exercises to conclude and then proceed to the weigh-in.
Why did they move it? Why did they just keep it at anchor?
Well, it's a good question. Why did it move the tournament? We talked about the Havre de Grace Marina area. The people did not want to displace their boats. They lobbied against it, even though it was a great facility to have the tournament, but it would have inconvenienced all the people in the marina, the slip
renters, and
Yep. So
I understand that.
They lobbied.
The Northeast isn't big enough.
The Northeast is perfect for it.
Yeah,
but
we had it there. Yeah, we had it there all 3 times that we've had a tournament. It's been there.
The problem is you got to write a pretty heavy check.
Right.
And I guess Cecil County was not in a position to do it. That year. So the Hartford County, which is where the tournament's going out of.
I've got a place in Cecil County. My taxes are like $19 a year, so they don't have the money.
Guess what? Your taxes are going up.
You just to bring bass there.
You just
to bring it.
Go launch in the bush. Take your boats over there. It's your little tournament.
See, at Cecil County, you hereby are under the authority to raise BTC's taxes.
Hey, we got a caller on the line.
We got a caller.
We got a hot lead.
All right, caller. Welcome to Bass University Live. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, it's Eric Galasso from Crofton, Maryland. How you doing, Pete? How you doing, Kevin?
Good. We're doing great. Thanks for calling.
It's my pleasure, man. Big crankbait fan, Pete, as you know, man. So this question is for both of you. Actually, Kevin, we'll start with you, man. I gotta know what your top 3 Zoom WEC cranks are and why. And when you throw, let's dish and show them, man. Just dump that box on the table. We're dying to see all of them.
Dude, I think this is Epic Eric. I didn't hear your name at first, and I recognize your voice now.
Epic Eric?
Yeah.
There's a story. There's got to be a story there for a guy that's named Epic Eric.
Well, he
probably. I didn't pick it. I didn't pick it.
I understand.
Travis Manson from Smallmouth Crushed. He named me, so I would never pick that name for me.
Oh my God, Travis Manson! I haven't heard from him in a while. Wow.
Well, Travis is guiding on the Chesapeake now.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Oh, good for
and
him.
As well as
Cool.
up on Thousand Islands and
Stealing all Pete's clients.
Yeah, he's got all your waypoints, doesn't he? Yeah, Travis got all your
I think
waypoints.
he has a few of his own, but I think
Yeah, I'm sure.
I would bet that Epic Eric has a better WEC collection than Kevin does.
Ooh.
Oh, I've bought several from Kevin. Kevin, over the years, I have purchased from your website.
Thank you.
Go back in the records and see.
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Look for
Appreciate
Epic
the
Eric.
business.
Thank you for
All
Kevin.
right. Number one, it would have to be the E1. That's the one, man. That's the one that I've done the most damage on. I've caught the most fish on it since we first started working on it back in 2005. It is the best square bill that I've ever thrown for coming through and around stuff without getting hung up. You know, it seems to any time that the fish are tight to any kind of wood, man, I feel like I can catch them on that. The little mutt is probably I catch a lot of fish both early in the year. I've got some. I don't have them in this box, but I've got like some red ones with like a dark green, like an olive green back that I'll throw early in the year when the water's still, you know, upper 40s, low to mid 50s. I catch a lot of fish on the little mutt. And then when I'm around big bait, and when I say big bait, I'm talking about like gizzard shad, bigger threadfin shad. Man, I'll throw the E3 a lot, particularly around. I actually catch a lot of fish around boat docks on the E3, and I don't know why that is. And you know, boat docks, and you know, you guys are used to like floating docks or docks that have like you know, like aluminum frames or stuff. And I'm talking about like wooden docks.
We've got
a lot of wooden docks
yeah,
on the
permanent
Chesapeake.
wood docks, yeah.
Dude, I thought on the upper Chesapeake, when I saw all those wooden docks, I thought, oh my God, I can catch them on it. I have fished every single dock within 10 miles of Northeast, and I never caught a single bass off of one. And I mean, and here you are telling me, oh man, they're like killing it on the docks on the upper Chesapeake. Right? And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, man! I've never caught one. Those, dude, those would probably. I don't go anywhere where I think there's going to be a crankbait bite that I don't have those three baits, you know, in you know, 2 or 3 different colors. I mean, that's just, you know, just like you see these boxes right here. I mean, that's what I'm always going to carry, man.
So what are your top 3 colors in Zoom, Kevin?
That's, you know, Tennessee shad.
Yep.
That, I mean, dude, I got to have that. I've got to have classic, which is, you know, this one that's kind of that off-white with a little green size and a brown. Chartreuse classic, chartreuse with a little brown, and then chartreuse black. I don't. Dude, those 4 colors, I don't go anywhere without. I've got a couple of other colors that I'll throw in certain situations, but those 3 or, you know, those 3 or 4 colors right there, that covers just about every water condition, whether it's, you know, just slightly stained all the way to full on, you know, chocolate brown mud.
That's great. That's great. Now,
Okay.
question for you on balsa overall versus plastic. If you did a head-to-head KVD 1.5 versus, you know, any Zoom square bill, who wins?
Man, you know, I've got a lot of 1.5s, the like the Strike King 1.5, and I'm just going to tell you, I mean, it's a good bait in certain situations, but to me, that bait wants to marry every single piece of wood that it even gets close to. Okay, I would like to know how many of those 1.5s that Van Dam left on those stumps down there in New Orleans, because he had to get a bunch of those hung up. Man, I have had the worst problem with that. But now the 2.5, man, I can make it come up and over and around stuff just fine. But that 1.5, it's like it doesn't have enough buoyancy to really come through stuff. Now, if I'm going to be fishing like rock, you know, like wing dams, you know, on the Arkansas River, man, that 1.5 is great. But for any kind of wood, not so much. But any time that I'm going to, I fish wood on wood, and I fish plastic on everything else. Okay,
Oh, that's interesting.
that's just me. I mean, I know guys that throw wood on rocks and around grass.
Man, why didn't you just say that first?
Man.
We could have just ended the whole night right there. That was amazing, Kev. It was fantastic.
Are we done? Is this over? We're out. Okay.
That's it.
But no,
over.
seriously, I'm that, and that's just me. I mean, I've got a really good friend that fishes up on Bull Shoals and Table Rock, Bull Shoals, Table Rock, and Norfolk all the time, and he throws an E1 on rock, on like the rock up there on those lakes, and I'm like, dude, you're killing the crankbait, man. You're abusing it, but he catches them on it.
Right.
You know. I mean, he catches it, so I
throw
can't
it.
fault him, but he like literally beats the crap out of him.
Wow.
And I just can't do that. I mean, if it's balsa, dude, if it's wood, I throw it on wood. Everything else, dude, I throw plastic.
Well, those are great questions, E. And as reward, you're going to get all the WEC crankbaits that Kevin just talked about.
No, that is a lie. That's a
I'll text
lie.
the address over now.
Hey, you are an avid fisherman of the Upper Chesapeake. Who's going to win that tournament, and how much weight they going to have, E?
Ooh, man, that's a great question, man. I tell you, what's really crazy is the rain that is coming in this week. It's almost like deja vu, man. They muddy, high water potentially coming down the Susquehanna. Oh my gosh, that just throws a curveball.
No
Had
doubt.
it not,
That could drop the
Man, I'd
weights
love to-
dramatically if that happens, I'm sure.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to happen. We had epic rain here yesterday and today,
Oh.
and they're calling for more. I mean, like inches. I don't know what happened up in Northeast, but it's going to impact it for sure. So that's a curveball, man. I would have picked. I would see Ike having a chance this year. I think he's doubled down his efforts on figuring things out. He shot some nice episodes with Zona. What did he learn? He's a river rat. You got to go with your river rats, right?
I think that's good.
Yeah.
It certainly could be,
I mean, Adrian Naveen is going to be in play, I think, this year. We'll see.
Yep.
He had a decent finish on the Delaware River. He's
Yes,
riding his momentum.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
And let's see who did well, last tournament with the tough conditions. I mean, G-Man, Gerald Swindle, he figured some things out. You look at the places he was fishing, they live there. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. Did the flats get killed with this rain? Because I would say the flats would win it, right? It's hard to beat those fish out there when the grass is green and healthy. But I don't know, man.
Yeah, it's big. It's tricky. How much rain we going to get? Where's the rain going to fall? How's that going to affect everything? Is the conditions going to be stable enough?
So let's say it's blown out. Let's say conditions.
Susquehanna blows it out.
Let's
you
say
mean.
generally it's conditions
Yeah.
are pretty beat.
Yep.
Does this take the tournament into a run and gun, cover water, 5-hour energy tournament, or is this kind of a hunker down and fish slower deal?
Well, here's my deal on down there. It depends on whether the rain is actively decreasing the water conditions or it's crested and starting to clear. Down there, when the visibility is 0, but now you have 2 inches of visibility,
Yes.
they'll bite.
Right.
They'll bite them, and they'll bite.
Good point.
They'll bite guys like these. You got to have something as big as your hand that pushes through the water,
Right.
something that they can find.
Right.
But they'll bite. However, if it's 6 inches of visibility today, and on tournament day it's down to 2 inches of visibility, now you got issues. You
got a problem.
You got a problem.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to try to find stable conditions, cleanest water, clearest water scenarios, that sort of thing. So it really depends on when the rain falls. If it's falling now, it's supposed to fall all week, but how much we going to get, where it's going to fall. If I'm in this tournament, I'm watching the weather like a hawk because I got to do it every day. I mean, I've been through this scenario 1,000 times, where we get heavy rain and, understanding where the water stays the clearest, where it's the most stable. Anybody in the elite tournament wants to give me a shout,
Yeah.
Oh.
I get DQ.
I heard that. I heard they're not allowed to get information, but yeah.
No, I hope they're watching tonight.
I imagine they are.
Because Mike's going to kill us.
Yeah, I know. I think actually, Ike, if you're listening, I think the Pose 200 is going to be the bait of choice for this week's tournament.
Peter, baby.
Wow.
But, Epic Eric, man. Hey, thanks for the call, buddy. It's good to hear from you.
Thanks, Eric.
Absolutely, man. Thanks
Appreciate
for
it,
taking it. It's great to talk to Kevin, man. Big fan, Kevin.
Thank you, sir.
Love your
Appreciate
blog too, man.
Thanks.
All right, buddy. We'll see you down the bay. Thanks a lot.
You got it, man. We'll talk to you guys. Thanks,
bro.
It's
Epic Eric.
Epic Eric.
Wow.
Yeah, he fishes a lot of tournaments. He fishes with Manson in a lot of the buddy tournaments down there these days.
Yeah, he's a special dude.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
He is.
Nice.
He's a really cool guy.
Yeah.
But he's into he's obsessive with color combinations. And you get people that are like that, like they have so much fun with it, and that's the cool part of fishing, you know, is just diving in and getting fascinated with unique color combinations that nobody else has, or things along those lines. He's definitely one of those guys.
That is so not me.
No,
I'm the opposite. I try to keep it as simple as possible, man. 3, 4, 5 colors. You know,
whatever's laying in the bottom of the boat, put
that,
a hook on
that
it.
a lot of that too. A lot of whatever I got. But you know, that's what I've learned because I don't have a ton. I'm a broke college kid. I don't have a lot of money. I'm not out there buying.
So this isn't by choice.
No, it's not necessarily by choice. But what I've found is, if it's a crankbait bite, it's so much more that they're hitting a crankbait and you're getting them through. It's not. I feel like color's basically the least end of the spectrum. I would say I'm not trying to go too crazy with it.
Except for that day that red DT6 was the only one getting bit.
That's true.
It
has its
he
place,
had it on, and there wasn't another one in the boat.
Brian's in the bottom of the boat looking through all his boxes. He's got like a million crankbaits out, but not one red DT6.
Hey, well, you know what you guys got to watch? All you guys that subscribe to Bass University TV, go watch John Cruz, What Makes Bass Bite. And he talks about this topic at length and gives a hierarchy of the things that are important in a bait selection. Presentation, sound, action, and color is important, but it's about fourth or fifth.
It's down the list.
It's about fourth or fifth on the list. So go check that out, guys. On Bass University TV. If you haven't subscribed, do it right now. Try BU. Get 10 days free. Come and check it out. It's really going to help everybody become a better angler that do. But what do you got there? I thought you were about to make a point.
I got no points.
No points.
Did you talk to James about how his day fishing with Shaw was?
Briefly. A lot of frustration with James. James has high stand. Not that he loved fishing with Shaw.
How can you not?
But he's been a contender in the last couple tournaments, and he fishes the river. He knows how to trigger strikes on the river.
Right.
And he was frustrated that they couldn't get themselves around the fish to be in contention.
I hope he still enjoyed his day because opportunity to fish with that guy
is a chance of a lifetime.
Yeah, no kidding.
There's two guys there that
Grigsby. I mean, come on.
Yeah, Shaw and Aaron are like bucket list.
Yeah.
For opposite reasons probably.
Gary Klein.
But they're just amazing guys. They're just incredible. So.
And they did make the run. I know everybody saw Shaw go up the Rancocas Creek for his big finish in not last year's Ike tournament, but the Elite tournament that was here. So he made that run up the Rancocas.
No, he didn't.
He did?
I don't think they did.
Okay.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
All right, I thought they didn't, but he said they did.
Yeah, he said that. He said that they did.
Okay.
And then they came out and fished the main river stuff. And,
I saw them in Dredge Harbor.
Did you?
Yeah, me and Eric ran into them.
Oh, okay.
They had nothing at that point. I think they probably came in with nothing. But some guys caught them in Rancocas.
Did they?
Chris Groh went up there, came out with a limit.
Where was it won? Do you have any idea? Lower, northern?
He was all over the main river, right?
Yeah.
When we ran into him, he was at the takeoff spot.
Yeah, we saw him come into the marina. Mike will never tell, but he probably hit 40 spots.
Yeah. That was my big, decision. We were at getting near the low tide, and I was deciding on whether or not to go run main river spots or run up a creek, and we decided to run up a creek. And the creek that we ran up, we caught them, but they just weren't the right kind.
Where'd you run? Woodburn?
Big timber.
Oh, okay.
And it just was, they weren't the right size. And we caught and we called, but
Matt Herron caught the right ones.
that's true. But I felt that was my choice, and I'm a main river guy. I'm a main river guy. The bigger fish are on the main river, and I love to. I know so much habitat there. But one of the things that influenced me is that everywhere I tried to fish on the main river, I ran into boats
because of the elite event.
Yeah, well,
Mike ruined the river.
Yeah, he wrecked all the spots.
Yep.
But so I couldn't. I was seeing a lot of pressure there. And I thought, well, let me try to get away from the pressure, and that might be a good decision for us. And it was for bites, but they weren't the right kind.
Did you use your bow saw in the event, Kev?
I did not have to because the tide was so high down there.
Yeah.
That I was able to go either around them or over the top of them. So.
And that's the only creek you fished?
Yeah, because it takes so much time to get back in there.
Yeah.
I mean, you just really. I mean, it took like an hour and 10 minutes.
Yep.
Just to get down there and get all the way to the back of it.
Yeah.
And we started catching them. I mean, as soon as we got there, we started catching them.
Right.
So it's like, well, crap, we're catching them. Why should we leave,
Right.
So, I mean, it was hard to hard to bail and go somewhere else.
And that's the big dilemma on the river.
It is
like when you go into a creek, you're committed.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's any size creek at all, yes. I mean, you if you're going to go way back in there where the water gets clear.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is on those tidal, every tidal situation that I've ever been, when the further you get away from the main river, the less the tide, the lower the tide is, and the less that it's affected. So, you just don't have those crazy swings way back in the creek like you do out on the main river. So that kind of, it lessens. It's still an impact, but it lessens the impact on it.
Sure, that's true.
And the water doesn't, because the water's not moving so fast, both directions, it doesn't muddy up as much. But you run, you spend a lot of time getting back in there sometimes, and a lot of time getting back out. So
right.
You're taking a chance.
Have you ever gone into Oldman's, Pete? Ever?
I've never gone into Oldman's. No.
Yeah, don't bother.
Yeah.
Just stay out of there.
We had a guy back in the Federation days, and he lived in Oldman's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he would go back there all the time.
Right.
And I remember the big dilemma there was he would always go back there, and invariably there was a local guy that liked to fish there and would beat him to the back of the creek.
Yeah.
And he would always be complaining about that. So it's been on my radar for a long time as a creek that holds fish, but I've never gone in there, and you did extremely well.
Yeah.
Out of there.
It's because you had it by yourself.
Tournament.
Yeah, because there was nobody else in there. I mean, I never. I think the one day I went in there in practice, somebody else was fishing like within maybe a mile of the river. And I never saw another. And that's. I mean, I only went in there the one day, and I didn't stay in there very long. But I never during the tournament. Dude, I never saw another single boat in there. So yeah, I mean, I had basically the whole thing to myself. And if I'd had to share it with somebody else, it probably I wouldn't have finished fourth. It just wouldn't have happened. And I obviously I didn't have a chance to win, right? Because Mike, smoked us all by like 5 or 6 pounds. But I did have a chance to finish second.
Okay.
I mean, I lost one fish. I think on the second and third day, I only weighed in 4 fish, and I lost one fish that would have given me probably at least another pound, maybe another pound and a quarter, and I would have wound up finishing second.
Gotcha.
But I still would have been the first loser, So
second place money's better than fourth, though.
Not much.
Little, not much, but a little bit.
Much.
Yeah. But it ain't about. I mean, it ain't about the check, man. It's about that blue.
It's
trophy.
about that blue trophy and
blue
picking
trophy,
the right
baby.
color.
Yeah.
Of your boat.
It is.
Or your
That's
theme.
what it's all
That's what
about,
it's about.
man.
Nothing in between.
Nothing else matters. No, it really doesn't.
Well, it was a great tournament. Congratulations to Mike
it was.
Centaur.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very much
and
so.
the boys.
Yep. Good job.
Well done, man.
Yep.
nipped Ott Defoe by
Otter Defoe.
ounces.
I know.
What was the? Do you know the final weights?
I think Centaur was 1174.
And
Oh,
Ott
wow.
was.
That was close.
What was Ott? 11.
Less.
Well, clearly.
I don't remember.
Thank you.
11, well,
for
I mean,
that.
it was like right at 11, 11 and a half, 1140 something. Or,
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
But
yeah,
I had heard. I talked to Ott briefly, and he fished north.
Mhm.
He went up the river somewhere to a creek, and some main river stuff. I think.
Tullytown didn't play at all.
No, I heard that too.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Some fish were caught out of there.
Oh, were they?
Yeah, I talked to somebody that caught one or two.
Okay.
But
where's that at?
it's up 15 miles on the Pennsylvania side.
Okay.
It's a harbor.
It's basically a lake.
Yeah, it's basically a lake. It's got hydrilla in it.
Oh,
And,
wow.
It collects bait and fish. It
that's
won last year.
That's the crazy thing about that river, the Delaware River system, is there is just an unbelievable amount of habitat.
Yeah.
Grass, man, you've got grass, you've got wood, you got rock. I mean, there's just
Shopping carts.
much shopping carts,
Trash cans.
condoms. Yeah,
Plenty of them.
man. There is like what did I call them? Jersey whitefish. Is
Yeah.
that what you call them?
Coney Island.
Coney Island whitefish. That's right. There is like an unbelievable amount of habitat in the river system,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like not that. It doesn't seem like there's not that many fish for the amount of habitat.
Right.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seeing all this grass and everything, and I'm thinking, man, this place should have like just bazillions of bass in it.
I've
And
never.
it doesn't.
And the odd thing is when you're out there, it's common for me to catch 20, 25 fish a day.
Yeah.
But it's that 20 to 25 fish, 15 to 20 of them are coming within an hour of low tide.
Yeah,
You
I can
know?
believe that.
And it's like they're there. There's so much bait. There's so much food. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. And the other thing that really has always confused me about the Delaware is why don't they get as big as the Chesapeake bass get? You know,
It's not because of habitat. It doesn't seem like it should be because of habitat.
abundance of food.
Yeah.
You can argue spawning habitat's not, but there's plenty of that.
Yes.
But the gene pool, maybe it's the salt water. I don't understand it, but you go through the canal because these waterways are connected.
Yes. Yes.
And you go through the canal, and suddenly you're fishing for 4 or 5 pounders.
Right.
You know, it's insane.
Well, I've always wondered, does it have something to do with the height of the tides? I mean, does that mess them up when they're spawn? Where can they spawn?
They spawn in all those man-made harbors, cuts, anything that doesn't have.
But if
current.
you got like a 7 or 8 foot tide swing, man, how do they?
They'll spawn on floating material. They'll spawn on.
Okay.
Kevin,
All
I
right.
saw this, and there's this one pocket that I go in and they spawn on, and the bulkhead it like makes a stair step.
Yeah.
But the stair is about 3 foot below high tide,
Okay.
and the tide will drop 3 foot below that.
Right.
They'll bed right there. But because that tabletop holds water, a puddle of water over the beds.
No way.
And they'll spawn there, and then they'll patrol on low
No
tide
way.
out in front
On
of
the
the bulkhead.
outside.
And then when the tide comes back up again, they'll jump back
move
on their beds. So they've learned, right? They've adapted and figured a way out to survive. And
That's pretty crazy.
but it's tons. I've caught in the springtime. I've caught 50 bass a day.
I don't.
You know, there's a lot there, but they do spread out, and I
But
don't
you gotta
know why they
be. You
get.
got to be in the right place. There is no place that I've ever seen that you have to be in the right place.
Yep.
At the right time.
You cannot go down the bank and expect to
No.
get them. You know, it's got to be the right
If you
bank.
are, I mean, if you're going to, you're going to have to go fast and move and go a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
But I've seen, what's cool is to see how quickly all the guys in the elite tournament adjusted to that. And
Yeah.
how guys were, efficiently, learning that. Because it's hard. I mean, even the Chesapeake where they're going, it's a 3 foot tide swing, 2 to 4 feet. And it's slow. It moves. To me, it's like
moves
slow motion.
compared to the Delaware.
Delaware.
Oh,
I mean, it's like I remember my partners are always like, Pete, you're going crazy because when the tide starts getting low, you don't hesitate. If you make a cast and he doesn't bite it, pick the trolling motor up and drive as
Go.
fast as you can to the
Yes.
next spot.
Yes.
And you do not sit. You do not breathe. At high tide, you take your time.
Right.
At high tide, you relax. You retie.
You're not going to catch nothing anyhow.
Right.
Nope.
Just take your
You're not
time.
gonna catch nothing anyhow.
But as the tide drops, the pressure starts building. You're like,
it's the window of opportunity.
If
It's tight.
if I'm making a good cast,
Yep.
It's a really narrow window too. Yeah, it's
Yep.
crazy.
yeah, it's nuts. But it was fun. Great event.
Awesome event. man.
Invite everybody to go to ikefoundation.org, make a donation, get kids fishing, get rods and reels into their hands. I think it's a great thing that Mike and Becky put together, mostly Becky.
Mostly, for
Mostly
sure.
back in-
But she's
uh,
a beast, man. Her and her crew.
Oh yeah,
Amazing.
Tremendous crew, do an amazing job, except for picking the right day and the right tide.
Yeah.
But we'll blame Bass for that. But yeah, great. I would look forward to next year. I mean, it's just such a fun event. We get NFL players, MMA guys. We get to fish with you guys. All come to town. It's a lot of fun. We need to get you two guys in the Derby next
We gotta
year.
hop in that deal next year,
really.
Brian.
You're going to be working it, and I'll be fishing it. I fished it the last 2 years, you know, and there was a time where I knew the river pretty good. So when you know, right now I don't have a boat. I'm fishing the lakes, you know, small boat stuff, and not getting out there, not getting practice time, jumping in with some buddies and getting out there one day, fishing for out of the money place.
Who cares, man?
you know?
We got a good streak going. Brian and I, we fished 3 tournaments together this year, and we take a second and 2 firsts.
That's
Wow.
amazing.
That's our record.
Yeah.
It's pretty
We're
good.
going to stop right there.
That's amazing.
Nah, we're jumping some more, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and speaking of which, we got to congratulate Ron Champion
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
yeah.
for winning the kayak division, and he gets a bid for Hobie Worlds.
Hobie Worlds. That's
Hobie
pretty
World.
amazing.
Wow.
Ron
Yeah.
Champion came up from Georgia last minute. We saw him at ICAST, and we were talking to him one night. The night we went out to dinner, the Line Cutters, Filthy Anglers party that we went to. Right, we had dinner. We ran into Ron there, and him and Gene Jensen were like, "Hey, man, maybe we'll come up." Gene couldn't make it. Ron came all the way up from Georgia, got 1 day of practice on the place, and just found a good spot. And Ron can catch him. Ron can catch him. I listened to how he was thinking it out and picking the lake apart. Matter of fact, he was on Ike Live Thursday night, and then afterwards he was talking to me and Mike, saying how his day went, how many bites he got, what he was doing, and how he broke the lake down on his kayak using side imaging, telling the hard bottom from the soft bottom, and picking. No one around here is doing that. I mean, these guys put up with tough conditions and can fish, but we have no need for side imaging for where we're fishing. Ron was up here using it and figuring it out.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
And he picked the right spot to sit on and power pulled down all day, made the same cast.
Wow.
Pretty much.
Is that
right
true?
Yeah, right there at the headwater.
No
Where
kidding.
did those guys fish? Where did the kayak guys go to fish?
Newton Lake.
Newton Lake.
Is that where he won it?
That's where he won it.
It's a tributary
Yeah,
to the Delaware.
yeah, okay.
You know, it's dammed.
Yeah.
You know.
Cooper River was a part of it, but there was a competing event on Cooper, the Top Rod, which was me and Mike's club we started.
Yeah. I've heard of those
Unfortunately, they
guys.
had to overlap us. They had their event there, so that kind of took Cooper a little bit out of the game because Cooper can usually win it. And then they added a couple smaller lakes in Peters Creek, which that's where Dave went, and Dave said by 6:10 he knew his day was screwed.
Oh no.
He had I guess a 15-incher, and it's only his second ever kayak tournament. On the bump board, getting his phone ready to take the picture, loosened up for a second,
Gone.
Oh no.
and that's a weigh-in fish. It might even have been bigger than 15. And then
Yeah, like a 3-pounder reach. for
yeah,
his
and then
rod,
right after
totally
that,
come out of the water.
3-pounder come out,
miss
jump
it.
over top of his buzz bait for the rest of the day. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Just didn't work out for him. But
I always worried about that with the kayak derbies because you don't have a deck to contain that fish.
Yeah.
So you got to have a death grip on that fish.
Yeah.
Once you get
that's
him in
why
your
Ron
possession.
wins, because he's 300 pounds. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. Those fish are going nowhere.
I mean, I worry about opening up my live
I
well
know,
lid like
yeah.
he's going to jump and go.
Right.
I can't imagine, you know, the importance of grabbing, you know, keeping a hold of that fish.
Yeah.
Dave learned the hard way that day.
Yeah, it's a lesson he won't soon forget.
Yeah,
but
it was great that he participated in it. That was awesome. You know,
yeah.
Dave's really embraced the kayak, and I hear Bass Cat's coming out with a kayak in 2019.
Is
Really?
that true?
I didn't know that.
It'd be awesome if they do.
Yeah,
25 off.
25% off. Use the
25%
promo code
off.
Kevin's
Yes.
Shorts, and just type that in.
Kevin Shorts fired.
Kevin's Yep.
Oh my goodness! What else do we have on the agenda, BTC?
Oh man, I think we can pretty much. What other techniques, man? Crankbaits aside, real quick. What would be your secondary if crankbaits was your number one technique that you like to do, that's your deal? What would be your secondary other than cranking?
Man, probably what I fall back on if I can't catch them on a crankbait is flipping, pitching. I mean, I've done the best, the most damage on that.
Let me guess, a zoom bait.
Zoom or a missile D-bomb. I tell you what, I've caught the most fish on this year. For some reason, this year, man, I have been through more baby D-bombs
The baby D-bomb.
Yeah.
than anything else, and I do not know why. But man, I have been through hundreds of the things this year.
D-bomb ain't no joke.
Green pumpkin and green pumpkin purple. I
that's a
have
good
been through many of them, and we've had
Shout
at
out to
home-
Missile Baits, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, at home we've had a lot of rain and high water, so we've had a lot of like bushes and stuff in the water. So it's been a really good flipping bite at home, and either using it by itself or using it on the back of a jig as a jig trailer, the little Ike mini flip jig.
Oh yeah.
Man, I've caught a lot of fish on it with a baby D-bomb. I caught fish on it here at the Delaware. I mean, the fish I caught yesterday. Caught those on a little half-ounce mini flip with green pumpkin baby D-bomb on the back.
Yeah,
I mean, it catches it.
I hear that catches them on this river.
That's what I've heard. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I fished when we were here in 15. I fished a little Jewel Magnum casting jig that's very similar to the Ike mini flip jig.
Just slightly downside.
Yeah, it's just a compact flipping jig and did the same, the same kind of thing.
And that heavy weight in this current is
that was the
important.
key. I mean, I was throwing 7/16. Yeah, and usually I'll throw like a 5. When I'm throwing like a finesse jig, I'll throw like a 5/16. But man, it just wasn't. It wouldn't work right.
Yeah.
But you couldn't get it down fast enough.
No,
right.
Because of the current. Yeah, it was gone.
Yeah.
So I had to go through the 7/16 to get it to fall right.
Yep.
And it had to be a straight trailer.
Right.
I was putting like a little Zoom bait, Z-Hog Junior on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you tried to use like a Z-Craw or a Speed Craw, something that flapped and drug through the water, man, it would fall too slow. It'd be gone.
Yeah.
It had to go straight down. Very important.
Yeah.
Well,
Don't know why. Very important.
yep. Well, that small profile heavy jig is key, and
Yes.
and you talked about flipping. I mean, it's so important. Like, it always seems like when you win in a tournament, there's like 1, 2. You're
You gotta do
cranking,
something. Yeah,
but
yeah.
you got a key flipping fish,
Yeah.
or 2 or 3, or you're flipping and you got a key crankbait fish.
Right.
Seems like there's always a 1-2 punch that gets you in the winner's circle.
Yeah. Makes a big difference.
I tell you, one of the things that I did, and I recommend that all you guys do this, is people ask you what's your strengths, right?
Right.
Cranking's your strength. People ask me that all the time, and I'm like, I have no idea.
That's good.
Well, it here's what I did.
Senkos.
I just throw Senko. I went back and
Even Kevin's laughing at you.
Wow.
I went back and I looked at all my top finishes and I wrote down the techniques that I used to get those
There you
finishes. Because I'm like, well, I need what people ask me that. I have no idea. I just try to be versatile. I try to think through a situation, strategize. Maybe that's my strength. But then I looked through my wins and it's like flipping
Right.
every time.
Right.
every time, and I'm like, I guess I'm a flipper.
Flipping what?
You're a flipper, man.
It don't matter,
Yep.
Sometimes it's a jig, sometimes it's a
Senko.
Senko, sometimes it's a brush hog. It's like it's any different. It doesn't matter. It's just the fact that it turns out that every time I score well, that's what I'm doing.
Not a lot of guys flip a Senko, but you do,
Yeah. Well,
right?
Hey, after he won at Cayuga,
Yeah.
I started doing it.
Yeah.
Never done it before.
Yeah.
But yeah, after he won
Yeah.
that Open, I'm like, hey, that's a pretty good idea. I need to try that.
Yeah.
It catches them.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Damn Senko
Never done it.
catches
Oh, I
them
know.
everywhere.
it's important to note at this moment that I have influence over Kevin Short's
Oh yeah.
flipping technique.
Kevin
Definitely.
Shorts.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's a unique technique that it darts, it glides, it's
Yeah.
erratic, it
Oh,
falls
yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
and they bite it, you
Yeah.
know.
And it'll go through anything
Right.
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's just. I mean, if you put it on a straight shank hook,
Mm-hmm.
dude, it's just. I mean, it's slim, and I mean, if you put, if you need to get it down through grass, put like a 3/4 ounce weight on it. Phew,
Gone.
It's
Yeah.
in there.
It's gone.
It's crazy.
And you may not know this, but I won the Hudson River FLW flipping a Senko.
Did
There
you
it
really?
is. That's
Wow.
two.
Flipping a Senko. In that particular situation, just like you're talking about, I was using a drag and drop technique because they get on those water chestnuts so good, and they like to chase whatever. A lot of times we use frogs or spoons to get them to follow.
Right.
So I would cast my bait out like 20 feet past or 10 feet past where I wanted it to fall, and I'd drag it, and then just kill it, and it would, and I mean,
I'll be dang.
just the big ones. But you couldn't flip it.
Right.
If you just hit the hole,
It wouldn't get their attention.
it wouldn't get their attention.
Right.
But if
Right.
you dragged it, it makes that sound, coming through the habitat, and you would pull those big ones. They would find it and swim over, and then it would fall, and then
Three-quarter
it was over.
ounce, half ounce.
I was using a half ounce in
Half
that
ounce.
scenario.
Yeah.
That's
Just
pretty
enough
crazy.
to get it down.
Yeah.
It would be duckweed, and in and amongst all the water chestnuts.
Have you ever done it with a 3/4 ounce or 1 ounce, something like that?
3/4 is what I won Cayuga with.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 12 foot of grass and 12 foot or something.
It was honestly, it wasn't even grass. I mean it was, but it was the outside of the grass.
Okay.
It was more about the rate of descent and the erratic nature of the
Yeah.
fall.
Yeah.
I mean, it was real sparse where the bait was landing. It was just about
Yeah.
just tearing
Start
off,
reacting.
and they'd have it.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have it, you would twitch it one time, and they would have it.
Ah. Okay.
So because they would follow it right down, it would just same kind of principle. They just pulls in that clear water, it would just pull them over to it.
Right.
Yeah.
But
You doing that on the? Oh, we probably shouldn't talk about that.
on Chesapeake,
Yeah.
here's the deal.
You're doing something different there.
You're either super light or you're super heavy with that bait.
Yeah. Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's the deal. It's like the in between stuff. It's like you're either making it fall like a rocket or you're begging for a bite in some kind of finesse
I got
fashion.
you.
You know. So between those two deals, But anyway, the key was I went back and I figured out I'm a crankbait guy and I'm a flipper, and so then when I went out fishing and when I went out practicing for tournaments, I knew to look for those patterns because I
Yeah.
knew that if I could find them, that I could do them real well.
Play your
Right.
strengths.
And I could possibly do well in the tournament.
Sure.
So
That makes sense.
it's important to identify your strengths and your weaknesses. I still can't catch a fish off a bed, and I still can't catch a Florida bass, but I don't think they bite.
They do.
I hear they do.
They do.
I hear they do. But we're gonna wrap it up.
We're gonna wrap it up. Hey,
Okay.
before we keep forgetting to remind people, but Bass U TV Live, what we're doing here tonight is now on iTunes.
Excellent.
We have an iTunes account, so all this stuff can be easily consumed while you're driving.
I'm putting
Put
you
your
on the
earbuds
spot.
on.
Are the iCast up yet?
I'll get back to you on that.
We'll be talking about the next intern on the next show.
Yeah, send your resumes.
The new
in
intern.
to,
It's an intern.
We do. Well, we do have one show up
No, we
now.
have 4 of them.
We have 4 up.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay.
yes, but we have about a year and a half worth of content, right? That we've been doing this.
Wow.
It's been a busy week.
No, I got you. No, I know it has, dude. Between ICAST and the foundation, they've been working them hard. So.
Now you do great. Eric's going to be uploading the new stuff all the time.
It'll be up. Don't worry, guys.
Yeah, look for that on iTunes. I know a lot of you guys like to listen on your way to work while you're at work, which is the best place to listen.
That's when I put the earbuds in and swing the hammer.
And that's so we're available on iTunes. Thanks for reminding me, Brian.
Yes, let's get that iTunes account going, man. It's a great place to listen to this stuff.
Excellent. And I appreciate Kevin Short being with us, buddy.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invite, man.
Oh, you bet. We're going to be out filming on the water tomorrow. It provided the lightning and the torrential rains don't chase us off. We'll see what we can do, but we're going to take some of these crankbaits out. We're gonna watch Kevin fish it through treetops, through habitat. Just really see it in action. So I'm really looking forward to that.
I am too.
I'll bring a lightning rod.
Yeah,
and
appreciate that.
We'll put that in the back pedestal seat. But I want to thank everybody. The big winners, the Riot Baits, the Rapala Lures, all of the WDEC baits that Kevin, WED
World Extreme Cage Fighting.
Yeah, there you go. But thanks everybody for watching. We're going to be back with a new Bass University Live real soon. We'll keep you guys posted on that. If you haven't subscribed yet, go over and do it. Try us for free for 10 days. It's truly going to help you become a better angler. So use the code TRYBU. That'll give you 10 days free. And look for me covering some of the Bassmaster stuff down on the upper Chesapeake. I'll be down there with the film crew. I'll be doing some live stuff for us, for Bass University, doing some live stuff for them where they can fit me in, hopefully. I've got so much to say.
Yeah.
I think
right.
it might be a situation where it's, well, the water's muddy. The water's muddy. The water's muddy. The water's muddy.
You got hollered at for giving out too much information last time, right?
Did I get hollered at?
Well, I think you got reprimanded.
I don't.
Well, during the line. I'm sorry, Pete. I didn't mean to scratch that word. But
hey, I've been chewed out before.
Yeah. I think you just went into details about where people were, and they were like, "Yo."
Oh, while we were live on the show. I didn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about maybe Mike thought I gave away too much.
No, Bassmaster or somebody.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that because
on the kind of sensitive about that.
Well, you have to slowly release the areas as the tournament progresses, and I didn't follow those rules exactly.
You weren't politically correct.
Yes, a little too early. I was saying where we were at, and that was frowned upon.
That's a no-no.
Yeah.
But hey,
that's why they haven't used me again for 3 years.
Hopefully, you've learned that lesson.
We'll try. We'll try to do better this time. But,
but
I look forward to that. So check that out. You can see that on the Bass University's Facebook page, as well as Bassmasters, hopefully, depending on what they use. And thanks everybody for watching. Thanks everybody for subscribing. Great questions. Thanks for the call, Epic Eric.
Yes.
And thank you guys for putting the show together and keeping us rolling.
We're gonna roll out to some talk. So
nice.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Taco
hey,
Hero.
We will see you guys back here for another episode of Bass University Live.
For the most part, and at one point, very close to the ending here, he decides to abandon this flipping style, which has got him right where he was at, and he changes to a crankbait. His crankbait is a Bagley B2, and this is his first cast.
Donk. Here it comes.
God.
On that pause.
God. Dog. Big one.
Big one. Big one.
God. Long hook. Come on. All right.
The line, man. Why do they always do that?
Good fish.
Grab the line.
How about this? These are the only spectators left. Earlier in the day, Takahiro had hundreds of them. It's just down to these folks as Takahiro makes his next cast.
God, big one. God. That's 5 pounder.
5-pounder.
Fish I knew. God, he ate it all the way.
Oh yeah, he ate it.
Yes! Yeah!
Just rolled right to him. See how
Hey, when you're
Just see how they eat it.
when you're living right,
This is a 5-pounder.
you're living right.
All right, one more.
He only has a few minutes left before he must leave in order to make it back to the check-in on time.
I know they have fish here. I knew it. Ah, another one.
Come on! 3 casts.
Yes! Yeah!
3 5-pounder.
5. Oh man, 5 minutes to go. I knew it. I knew it. Can't believe it. Like 2:12. I got 10 minutes. I gotta get out of here. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta come on time. That's all that matters. Yes!
Isn't that crazy?
Did you believe that? I got 5 minutes to go. I mean, I'm not kidding. I knew it. I just knew it.
Most of the other boats have a navy following him in. Takahiro Omori is coming home solo, but practically out of his mind.